You take your time, Coach. I mean, we got about 7 minutes still. He's supposed to be here anyways. So, and while you're doing that, I'm checking to make sure sound and all that stuff on my end's good, because that's always the fun part when I do these is sometimes the sound doesn't work properly, and then I slightly freak out and got to figure out what's going on. That's
I got you.
like right now. Like wow.
This is a big Glazer week for special teams. They got all those online clinics Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Okay. I literally, and this is not like a shot at Glazier or anything. It's just I don't even pay attention to Glazier stuff at this point anymore. Like just
really
perspective. It's just it's nothing. It's them. It's just I like from as a head budget wise at a small school.
Yeah,
it's just not realistic. I mean, it's just not. That's $600 to $700. I can buy how much protein or apparel I can buy for kids. Like that's just
yeah.
Like if I was at a bigger school, it's a different conversation. But it's just
right.
Yeah. So let's put this on my screen. But yeah, I mean that's the. The also thing is I've switched schools and I don't get any of the Glazier emails anymore either. I used to get. And
now, what school are you at?
I am at Bradford High School, which is the smallest public school in the state of Ohio that plays football. We will graduate, I think, like 38 kids this year.
Wow.
Yep. That's male and female. That's.
What school are you at?
Yep. Yeah. And that is. We're tiny. It's fine. Like it is what.
How many kids on your team?
This year we had 30.
Yeah.
But I mean, prior to me getting here this year, they hadn't broken probably 28 since 2012. So I mean, most of the past couple of years they've been at 15, 16, 17. But yeah, I mean, what it's like I said. All right, so Coach, I'm going to unshare your screen.
Okay, buddy.
And did afterwards. Coach Lloyd, how you doing?
I'm good. You?
I'm doing good. We got a couple minutes. Like I said, I was just helping Coach Vester to make sure he was good on stuff, and like I said, I appreciate both of you for doing this. That's like I said, it's a nice Sunday. It's so far, like
anytime we can talk ball, right?
Yeah. I'm just making sure here. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to unshare the for a second. And then reshare that one. You can pull up your screen, whatever, Coach. I'm just making sure there's a little bit of a lag on the this, and I'm trying to fix it. It's not going to be perfect ever, but I just want to make sure the less I have, the better. So as you guys talk and do stuff, and there we go. And
it's not be perfect ever, but
I think we're good. Yep. And then as you get started, I will tweet like an insane madman.
It's going to kick me out here. I had to reset something, so I'll be right back.
Okay, yep, do it and hop back on. Okay, and that's it. While you're doing that, oh, wrong button. Okay, there's that, and then Coaches that are starting to pop in on the YouTube live stream, we will get started here in about a little under 2 minutes. Getting all the coaches getting set up, and I am getting all my BS administration stuff so people can find this.
Coach, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Perfect.
Yep, and I'm putting your Twitter in the chat along with a couple other things, and so I think we had somewhere between like 100 150 jump on and off during the morning session. So I said we'll see what the afternoon brings. This will be the correction. See, that's this will be my second to last one of these. I'll do another one, last one. It's probably a smaller one in May, and then be done for the year. So yeah. Take a picture. Boom. 5 to 9. So I'll do my spiel, coach, and then you can get started. Like I said, I try not to make this rocket science. I'm not smart enough for that. Coaches, we're going to get started. I know people are jumping in and out as we get started. Coach Lloyd is the head football coach and PE teacher at Ogden High School out there in Iowa. He's going to talk about building a sustainable high school football program for the future, which is, I think, a great topic. We had another good one on like small school practice plan in the first half. So I think this is a good kind of follow-up to that one specifically, and just kind of a good resource for, especially in today's age. So, Coach, the floor is yours, and then I'll get all this stuff tweeted out and sent out while you're getting going.
All right, thanks. I really appreciate it. Anytime we get an opportunity to connect and network like this, it's something that we all should take advantage of as coaches. So just really thankful to be on here today and get a chance to talk some ball in April. So my topic today, I chose something beyond X's and O's, and there might be some suggestions in here that many of you guys do, things that you've had a lot of success with. So definitely not the inventor of any of this. Everything in football is stolen. But I think this is such a critical topic. I think the future of football is going to depend more on this as we get going. And so I just hope I can highlight a few things to help others out. And if you ever have any questions or anything, please, reach out. If not today, down the road in the future. I plan to be at Ogden for a while. So I know sometimes we get back to these things a little bit later as coaches, and you'll know where to find me. Just a little bit about me. My wife, Maggie, and I, I didn't correct that there. We've actually been married 14 years. My wife and I had gone through this earlier, and so there's -1 for me already. But we've been together 14 years. I have 4 children. Our daughter, Janetta, was a foster daughter and has been with us for 2 years. She goes to the University of Northern Iowa. Then I have my oldest son, Carson, my middle son, Parker, and then my daughter is Adeline. Played my college football at Morningside College. It's now Morningside University. My time there was awesome. We finished the top 5 in the nation, but since I've left, they've won multiple conference championships, multiple national titles at the NAIA level. And Coach Steve Ryan is a Hall of Fame coach, and he was my position coach in college. So learned a lot from him and really enjoyed it. Then I went Sibley Cheaton High School, small school in Northwest Iowa. I was there for 2 years. I was the defensive coordinator there for a season, and then went back to my hometown of Sheldon and was there for 11 years. Coached a lot of different things there. Was an assistant coach for my hero, my high school head coach, Matt Maindring, who's now the principal at Dowling Catholic in Des Moines, and learned a lot from him. And then got my start as a head coach there as well, and kind of thought my life would play out like a storybook and I'd be there forever. And that didn't happen. And here I am at Ogden. Started this past season, moved here July 31, started camp July 31. So it's been quite the transition for myself and my family, but that's where we find ourselves currently, and we've really enjoyed our move here. And then I put the playoff qualifier things there. I think that's a goal you've got to aspire to in coaching. And so I've been fortunate enough to be a part of 5 different playoff teams and 3 as the head coach. So those are the ones that are in bold there. And, you just kind of take those things and keep moving forward. And then my hook, I always said if I had an opportunity to share, anything about my life or my journey in coaching, I always wanted to touch on this. My youngest son, Parker, at the age of 2, was diagnosed with a pre-leukemic condition and had a life-saving bone marrow transplant. So as coaches, I know we network and we have, situations that arise in our community and those types of things. If you ever have a situation with pediatric cancer or anything like that, I'm willing to network with anybody on that, something that's really close to my heart. My wife and I have used this for good. And, obviously our outcome was very positive. And my son lives like a normal 11-year-old right now. And that's not always the case, but he did. He had a life-saving bone marrow transplant at the University of Minnesota. We're big Iowa fans, so you got to give Minnesota their props there where it's due. But just those things, make sure I always wanted to share that as I get a chance to network with people from all around the nation, because it really is a small world at times. And if anybody is going through anything like that, anybody in the coaching realm, my son was released from the hospital January 27th of 2015, and I was offered the head coaching job at Sheldon that March. So that was a quick transition there. It was a scary undertaking at that time, not knowing if that transplant had worked or not. And like I said, here we are today. So just wanted to make sure I got that plug out there. My personal mission statement's listed there. I just want my children, biological foster students, players, those to just have a better life than I did growing up. I had an absent father, and that made things difficult growing up, both just as being a male in society and then financially and those kinds of things. And so I just always use that as my driving force moving forward. And, then I drive into my vision. It's a player's game, and games are intended to be fun. And I went to the Oxford Dictionary, the old Google search, and, you guys can read the definition there, but I highlighted and colored the word luck. So winning is not all, the pieces that we put together, the plays that we draw, the play call that we had on fourth down that was just phenomenal. Sometimes punt is the best play call. But there is an element of luck there, and you've got to have that in there as well. And we're there for the drive and the competition, those kinds of things. But our players might be dealing with something different. And then the other thing I ask coaches all the time is, would you play for you? And I think that's something that it takes a long time to kind of sit back, look in the mirror and say, am I somebody that I would have played for? I was inspired by Matt Maindring, my high school head coach, not because of his football knowledge, but because he took an interest in my life. And I didn't play football as a freshman. And here I had this, at the time, Coach Maindring was the JV coach saying, hey, you should really be out for football. And just those words kind of drove me to go out. And I had a wonderful playing career, wonderful experiences, obviously led to a college career. He changed my life just by showing an interest in me. So I think we can never underestimate the platform that we have in this position. And that's something that we've got to keep in mind. And Coach Maindring ended up being my head coach my junior and senior year of high school. We played for a state championship. I mean, it was a phenomenal experience. So just don't underestimate those things. And then obviously I have the quote there from the movie Remember the Titans, "Zero fun, sir." And that's how football used to be. That's not how football can be anymore. I don't believe that. If you're running your program that way, kudos to you. You must have a really supportive community. But I think kids are there because they want to have fun and play the game. Statistically, I'm not going to read all this for you, but we're losing kids at a rapid rate. And I think that's why we need to look sometimes outside the X's and O's, because that all-star quarterback at the 7th grade level, you might have a really hard time getting him to come out as a freshman for a variety of reasons. And I think post-COVID, we're more aware of some of the things that are, outlined on the left with, substance abuse, mental health issues, eating disorders, those kinds of things. And I could, fall down that rabbit hole of coaching and tell you all kinds of stories of players dealing with a lot of things that I never would have anticipated. Players who didn't want to gain weight because they didn't want that physique, but it would have really helped their recruiting. And I think those are things that we need to keep in the forefront of our minds and maybe not in the back of our minds. And then there's just a lot of pressure that's out there. There's a lot of different things that are placed on kids. And I know there's also the counter argument that we've gone soft and we've done all those things, but as coaches, these are the kids that we're getting. One of the biggest changes that I had moving from Sheldon to Ogden, Sheldon was a school that had just gone over 50% free and reduced lunch. And I know there's a lot of coaches out there that can, attest to those same things and numbers that are even higher, but it creates a lot of barriers that you wouldn't anticipate. Now coming to Ogden, we're at 23% free and reduced lunch. And I can tell you it is a lot different. It changes the way that I coach. So we need to keep these things in mind as well and continue to have this dialogue and conversations with players. And I think football is unique because we need more players than any other sport. Also, we need the 18-year-old players. We need the guys that are older because we don't know how a kid's going to grow, mature, and develop. I was a middle school quarterback. That was not my claim to fame in high school. I moved to the offensive line for the better. And so that's something that a lot of kids face, a lot of kids go through. And I think as coaches, we need to keep that in mind. So some of the nuts and bolts here that I've outlined in this presentation. And I tried to kind of break things down, from a cost perspective, because I did a podcast with Coach Gonzales that was released in February and outlined some of these things. So I'll try to, be cognizant of time and not go on my coach's soapbox here for too long. But I try to break them down into things that are free, things that are about under $1,500, because I think I could get that done here at Ogden, and then things that are over $1,500. Now, Ogden's a Class 1A school in the state of Iowa. We have about 250 students in our building, give or take, grades 9, 12, and I have about 50 kids on my roster. So that gives you kind of a sense of where we're at. But some of the free strategies that I have on there and things that I've used, call every boy in the high school to gauge their interest in playing football. And even, and I say this, and I mean it, even if they're out for cross country, when they write country songs, they don't write about running around a golf course. They write about playing on Friday nights or being on the team on a Friday night. And there's dual sport policies in place. I've had them at both schools that I've been a head coach at. You'd be amazed at how many kids would consider that. Now, it takes some flexibility on both coaches' parts. So I guess you got to kind of know what you're stepping into. But at Sheldon, my wife was the head cross country coach, so that was pretty easy to have those conversations with her. And I know at Ogden, we're sharing kids all the time. I haven't had a player take me up on that, but I'm also not going to let that be the reason that I don't have another body on the sidelines on a Friday night, because talented kids are talented kids, runners are runners, and everybody needs them, and we're all sharing them, and we've got to be cognizant of that. This whole calling thing started during COVID because I didn't have contact with my kids. All schools closed down and hadn't seen them for a long time. And it was a really unique thing to call kids and ask, hey, you're going to come out for football. And when I started as a head coach in 2015, we only had 38 kids on our roster, and we went 0-9. So that takes a lot of reflection there too. And I think it was for the better. I think every coach should go 0-9 their first year as a head coach. That really humbles you. But post-COVID, we had 81 kids show up one day for camp. Now, they were looking for a lot of different things during that time. I think kids were bored by that point as well. But I also think that these phone calls helped a lot. I heard about kids remodeling bathrooms. I heard about kids that that had gone on, family trips or vacations and all those kinds of things. So it's become the norm. I'll sit down the last couple of weeks of July and start calling kids. And if it's not a hard no, I'll call the kids as parents and then have that conversation as well. Because you just want those things pushed on there. And I could go down the rabbit hole and give you countless examples of kids who have come out just based on the phone call. Another thing I would say is when you finish your camp week, and I don't know what that looks like for these other states, but when you finish camp week, think of something fun that you can do. Games. We call them the Olympics. So Sheldon has the worst mascot in America. Okay, it was voted by ESPN. Sheldon was the home of the Orbs. It's a combination of the school colors, orange and black. You can look it up. It's real. I graduated from there. I'm an Orb. Okay. And so we had the Orb Olympics. Well, now I'm in Ogden. We're the Bulldogs. So I have Bulldog Olympics that we do. So we come up with a bunch of games and things. You can have them compete by grade. You can have them draft cadres or teams. I know that's a really popular thing, but think of something you can do there. Player day, where they lead the workouts or the practice. Those are really fun. As coaches, you can stand by the fence or you got to keep some sort of supervision on them, but have the kids kind of run it, see what it looks like, because they're a reflection of you. If you really want some feedback there and you want to give them some ownership, that's a really easy thing to do there. Signing day, if you're not doing signing days in the spring, I really would, suggest that you do that. I think that's something that's really exciting for the community. You can blast it on social media. You can put it out there. Handwritten notes. When we went 0-9, that was something that I started doing right away. Was trying to highlight things that I saw during basketball or wrestling from my players, that I could say, hey, you made those 2 key free throws the other night. That's huge. You're going to perform in crunch time for us come fall. And kids don't get those things anymore. And schools have stationery and everything like that. That's free. And then we have an Adopt a Player program, which I already mentioned. I talked about on the Joe Salas podcast in more detail. But we have members of the community. I sent out a letter I've stood up in front of the church groups and those kinds of things to try to get players to, or try to get community members to adopt a player of ours and support them during the season. And the only thing I ask for is words of encouragement. And they send it to the school, and that's it. Now it's blossomed. It becomes more than that. It becomes care packages, meals out to eat, text messages, all kinds of things. But that's a free thing to start, and I would encourage you to think about that. Some of those things that are under $1,500, take a day off, go to the pool. What are you out? I mean, really, the kids are going to talk about this. They're going to tell their friends to come out. It's hot out there. Like, come on, we're miserable too sometimes. So, do those things. I would also suggest as a coach, purchase an offensive and defensive system. I don't work for JDFB. I'm not a Kenny Simpson disciple. I'm just saying, like, there's stuff out there. When I went 0-9, I purchased an offensive and defensive system. I don't even run either one of those systems anymore because of the clientele that I have, but they're worth their weight in gold, and it helps streamline things for you as a coach. And that is X's and O's related, but it takes some of that work off your plate and allows you to focus more on the kids. Have those team meals. We have kids over all the time. I've served tacos, burgers, I've ordered pizzas, all those kinds of things. That kind of stuff is big for kids, and it adds up. But you know what? You'd be amazed at what parent groups want to be involved with that, what booster clubs want to be a part of that. And we try to do something like that with our guys at least once a month. And then we have a junior senior player retreat. And I talked about this at length on my podcast with Joe Salas, but we take our juniors and seniors and we go to an area college. That's what it's become. The first year we were at a retreat center by a lake, and we just hang out. And that first year we were just coming off an 0-9 season, and we had lost 14 games in a row. We did not zero football. We did very little football. We did a 7-on-7 with a local team up at the lakes, and then that was it. And we played Ghost in the Graveyard, and we ran around and did all that stuff. We didn't feed the kids as well as we do now. That was something I learned. They didn't just want peanut butter and jelly, but that was something cheap that I could throw out there. But that was a really unique time and experience for us. And we came back. We won our first game that year against a team who was ranked in the top 10. And I'm not saying it was the retreat, but I don't think it hurt. And I think it really fortified us for what we were going to go through. And that team went on to have great success and was a phenomenal team, kind of a foundational building block for us moving forward, and a team that's going to be remembered in school history for a really long time. So I would encourage you to do that. Now that's more, if I take them to college campuses now. I like the dorm setting a little better because it helps me kind of keep an eye on them. Also, it gives them exposure to college coaches. The other thing I was dealing with at Sheldon, I didn't have kids that were college bound. So this gave them an opportunity to get a tour of campus. The coaches that I'm in contact with at multiple colleges love it because it's free recruiting for them. Their new coaches on staff get a chance to practice giving a tour. And I just think there's a lot to take there with you. And it doesn't have to be anything great. And I'm telling you, it's under $1,500. And that's without asking for the booster club to kick in, or, if you're well off and you got a good club program account or whatever. I'm saying, like, bare bones, you can get that done for like $1,000, $1,200 for about 28, 30 kids, 5, 6 coaches. It's phenomenal. Call restaurants, ask for a college discount. Most places will give that to you just by giving them a heads up. So there's some things there that you can take from that middle category. And then lastly, the over $1,500, for us, it's pizza after every game. I know some programs, you probably have great parent support and those kinds of things. I was dealing with some things in my previous position that just parents weren't as involved. We had a higher Hispanic population, so that just created its own barrier there. And then when we asked them at the end of the season, what'd you like best about the season? You'd love it to be winning, right? It was pizza after the game. So, yeah, you can say X's and O's all you want, but if you take care of kids and you meet those basic needs that they have, they're going to run through a brick wall for you. So that was something that we did there. We use fundraising incentives. Now, fundraising in itself, I think, is going to change as we go into the future. But when we do incentives for fundraising, we do team incentives. So if we sell 100 cards of whatever it is, we get music in the locker room. If we sell 200 cards, they can have music at the practice field. That doesn't cost me anything. And it motivates the kids to work as a team. Now, when you get up there a little bit higher, we get into these player packs where they get 3 T-shirts, pair of shorts. They got stocking hats one year. They got Under Armour hoodies another year. I always call our vendors and suppliers to see if they're like closing out anything that I can get at a discount, and I'll buy it early because I kind of know the numbers of my program, and then I can go off of that a little bit. And you'll have kids. So at Sheldon, I was in a community of 5,000 people. We would sell 1,000 cards. Ogden's a community of about 2,100, 2,300 people. We sold 750 cards last year. And every kid on the roster gets that stuff. If you walk into Sheldon High School today, I guarantee that there's a third of that school walking around with something that's Sheldon Orb football. Forever Orbs, that was our thing there. Here it's dogs, DAWGs. I don't know why, it's just what it is. So that's what they do. And you brand those kids, and they're walking around and, hey, I got this for free. You don't think there's a kid in your hallways that wants free clothes? You're crazy. And they'll hand it down to their younger siblings. It's a phenomenal thing. They'll give it to their parents. And at Sheldon, with that free and reduced lunch challenge that we had there, they didn't have school gear. They didn't have school apparel. So that was one way that we could filter it in there and get our kids wearing orange and black every day. Guardian caps, I don't work for Guardian Cap. I'm just telling you, it's a really good thing that we invested in at both programs. It was really positive. Knock on wood, haven't had a single concussion at practice since we started using those things. We got them for our middle schoolers here. So 7, 12, we're all in the Guardian Cap. It's a phenomenal thing. And then we started a youth program development here. So it's AAU. I don't know if that's a curse word in other states, but it's really crazy for us. And so it's AAU affiliated, but we're running it through our tiny little town. And that has been something that we're willing to invest in. It takes a lot of time. My wife helps me. I love her, so I really appreciate her help with that. But that has been huge for us. And that's going to be, something that we ride on into the future with that. It's only 7v7. So, the ball is in the air, throwing and catching and those kinds of things. And everybody wants to be the quarterback. But this is something that is, I think, the future way for us and something that we can invest in. And that club account is going to come around and help us with all kinds of things, both in our youth development and at our high school level. Lastly here, I think some things to think about as we get into the future and things that I'm continually working on. My wife gets mad at me. Why are you always doing something? Why is this always changing? I think that's just the nature of who I am. And I think as coaches, it's something we need to be cognizant of. So I think you got to increase social media presence. That's free. I didn't use X, or was Twitter. Now it's X. I didn't use that stuff till this year because I wanted to tell my own story. I was sick and tired of people telling my story for me and not allowing me to tell it. So I tell my own story. So if you follow me on there, I've got, the stuff that I do on a daily basis, and it is real. That's the stuff that we're doing, and that's free. I think you got to prioritize nutrition daily and post-workout. So we're looking at how can we get more food into our building, and then how can we get it to our kids post-workout, and then our kids lift every other day. How can we feed them every day? It's a challenge. I want to take it on. I want to take it head on because everybody's lifting. And you can say, well, I don't get good numbers in my lifting everybody's lifting some way, somewhat. What is the next wave? I think it's that nutrition piece, but that's going to cost you some money. You're going to have to figure that part out. And then the last one there, recruiting. Yep, absolutely, 100%. And I know that's probably not what a lot of us want to hear, but you know what? College coaches don't want to hear about NIL. And I think that's the reality for us. And one of the things that made this job attractive for me was at Sheldon, I was losing kids to 2 private schools in our area. There isn't a private school within 40 miles of Ogden, Iowa. And there's a 4A school 8 miles down the road. So you tell me what the future is going to look like if I'm increasing social media, increasing participation, prioritizing some of these things for development. There's going to be a kid that says, I want to be a part of that. I want free t-shirts. I want pizza. I want to be recruited. Let's be honest. People want to feel loved. And if they're not feeling loved in their current program, it is what it is. Iowa, we passed a voucher program. It is what it is. And I know other states are dealing with it too. So really appreciate the opportunity. Like I said, there's a lot there. Tried to breeze through it quick. I was checking my timer. Gosh, I did great. I did good for me. And so those are some places you can contact me. I'd put my cell phone on here, but I don't want to get, blown up with a bunch of bot calls and those kinds of things. And like I said, I'm at Ogden High School. So if you want to look me up on the staff directory, you can get my contact information there as well.
Oh, Coach, generally, I will say I'm highly impressed with the timing of that. That is like almost 20 minutes, like probably 20, 21 minutes on the dot. So when I say 20 to 25 minutes, like I said, I'm impressed. You hit that on the dot. I mean, every area obviously is different, and we all have our own needs. And I've kind of been in a lot of your situations. So you talked about nutrition there. Where are the main way? Who are you going through? How are you targeting nutrition? Where are you looking at it getting? That's kind of my question. In terms of helping your student athletes.
Yeah, so we have some local dairy associations that are run through the county, so they can get you some grant funding and those kinds of things for like increased milk products and that type of stuff. Now the issue you're gonna have there is storage and trash, because everything comes in a carton. So that creates some barriers there as well. I've also reached out to our local grocers. Now, Sheldon, I had 2 grocery stores that I could kind of network with, and we never were able to get anything off the ground. But I had kind of an developed kind of a decreased payment for granola bars, so that we would at least have something there to give our kids, and then just taking that and then kind of moving that forward. Because in Sheldon, we started a backpack program for disadvantaged kids. That would have been like 2011, 2012, and that just exploded. So I kind of viewed this potentially moving that same way if we can get the wheels in motion. So it's been like a 2.5 year project, and I don't have any set answers for you. But that is kind of the pathways that we're intending to use.
Okay. I was just curious because, like I said, I've spent a lot of money on Gatorade because Gatorade does that discount every year. So yep. Like for schools, and so I've spent a hefty sum there, and then also as anytime I see stuff on clearance at like Kroger or anything, like just buy stuff in bulk. Like even like protein powder, protein bars. Powder does go a long way because I probably went to about 13 different Goodwills and just bought every protein shaker I could find. Those are 50 cents a dollar at a Goodwill, so instead of paying
Absolutely.
your 10 to $15. So those are easy to clean.
Absolutely.
So okay, that's my main thing. So coaches that are jumping on and off or watching us later or whatever, make sure you check out Coach's Twitter and his other contact information that's on the screen and how to get a hold of him if you have questions. Coach is really easy to get a hold of. I mean, I'd message him on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and we started talking a matter of within an hour. So like I said, don't hesitate. Reach out to Coach. He's doing a great job over there. And again, this is the little stuff that matters. It's not the off the field stuff that builds for your community and your kids. And anytime you can help your community, I think is kind of a win-win for everybody, not just from a football perspective, but just for overall. And then I think that's about it, Coach. So you can unshare your screen. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem, Coach. Coach Vester, you can share your screen when you're ready. Like I said, as you're doing that.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Good. Coach Lloyd, I was just going, are you still there?
Yeah, yes, he is.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, a lot of good stuff. I was going to tell you one thing we do here. We're at a big school now. We hadn't always been. And we got in, and I'm sure you've tried to connect with your cafeteria. But a couple things. One, and I don't know if this is legal or legit or whatever you want to call it, but we used to take bowls, big metal bowls, and put them in the cafeteria. And kids that didn't want juices and fruit and whatever, they threw them in bowls, and I'd swing by there right after lunch, pick them up, put them in our refrigerator. And so we just started stockpiling stuff that way. That's free. In the cafeteria, I don't think they're supposed to do that, but they don't care because they'd have to throw it away anyway. So it's just kind of one of the things, ask for forgiveness. But and the other thing is here, we get paid per kid that goes through the lunch line. And so they want their numbers up. So one thing they do is we tell them, all right, we've got 100 kids between first and second and fourth block. And so they actually bring breakfast down to the field house for all those kids, and so that way we are sure that they get breakfast before their workout, and then, they go through the lunch line for lunch, So that's just a couple things. Doesn't cost us anything, but just something you might want to look into. You're right. Nutrition is the key, man. Like, I think you're right. You know, I think 10, 15 years ago, you could have got away with just outworking people in a weight room, but everybody lifts weights now. I mean, it's kind of one of them things. I think there's different levels of work, but I do think the nutrition piece is huge, especially depending on your demographics. You know, I have no idea, where you're at, but if you're at any type of low income or poverty type of place, it's them kids, man, they go to work and don't have nothing on them. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
So anyway, just tidbit of information there. I love that stuff, man, but enjoyed your presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir.
So, Coach Vester, you can go and share your screen, and then we can kind of get started with. I mean, we're virtually on time, so that won't last. I'll mess that up somehow at some point, but I'll let you go ahead and share your screen. And I'm gonna be coaches. I'm gonna kind of do my spiel real quick, so Coach can get started with his. Like I said, as those of you that are watching on the YouTube through the stream. Obviously, like the video, it helps coaches find it, the weird YouTube algorithm, all that lovely jazz. But moving on, so we kind of stay on time. Coach Richard Vester is an assistant coach at Coffee High School down there in the great state of Georgia. He's going to be talking some special teams.
Recording in progress.
I think that's it, Coach.
All right, cool. All I can see is myself. All right, guys. Like you said, I'm a special teams coordinator at Coffee High School, and I'm in my 18 of the 29 years. I was either coordinating the special teams or was coaching it. So, been doing special teams for a while. We had a state championship, semifinals, through talking, with the head coach and things. We just realized that, if we're ever going to win it all, we've got to get better at special teams. And so, are y'all seeing my screen or me?
I'm both.
It must be. All right. All I see is your screen. All right. Sorry. I haven't done this stuff since COVID.
You're good, Coach. You're good.
All right, cool. All right. So anyway, start coordinating. But I got some things here that I think that we do that have made our specials. It starts at the top. Our head coach, Mike Coe, is a big special teams guy. He was out there and rep through it. I get pre-practice time every day. We get all of our specialist work done and all that kind of stuff done during the day. This past year, donuts was the big thing. We used a lot of, PAT field goal was perfect. We used donuts. We met our goals. We got donuts. I've used hammers and things like that. And then our goal chart that we keep track of. The kids coming there, really special teams players of the week, just like offense, much like O&D as we can. Kickoff and punt, use best guys for the job. I mean, that can't be more, you got a head coach that wants you to use all backups. Kickoff and punt, you got your very best guys out there. Staple of the locker room. As you walk in the door, it's always up first thing they walk in before they walk out to practice. And we continue to update that. So if a kid was to happen to miss, if a kid's not playing well, and so I'll adjust the depth chart based on performance and commitment levels, things like that. So it creates. I grade the film on Huddle, and I'm going to use team time. Right? And so what I use Huddle as our classroom. And I go on there Saturday and I grade the Friday night's games. And I'm very specific on there. I'll call kids out, whether it's at it. But definitely when kids do things right, I use them as teaching moments and, highlight them. For all of our special teams on middle school, they'll run the same systems we run. The specials to use the same drills we run. And so by the time they get to high school, we've at least got a jump start on finding those specialists and really helping them hone in their jobs. All right. The main part of this presentation is on kickoff. So we don't ever go live on kickoff at practice. but we do go live in these drills. And so we do 2 main drills every week. We do these every Monday, practice leading into the state championship this year. But the first one is trim the fat. And what we found, we just added this drill about 2 years ago. And what we found was kids were running. Can you see my arrow too?
Yes, sir.
Cool. All right. Technology's cool. So we use a barrel here and a barrel here, and then usually use about 3 coaches. We'll have 1 coach here that's sending them, and then basically he's using a left-handed rip, and he's going to lean and stay tight. And basically what we're doing here is really ripping past this cone, this barrel, which is simulating a person. And then we'll have another coach standing here in the middle. He's going to rip back butt side. About that and why they would need the different, rips versus, butt side versus front side. Then we got another barrel here. This barrel, we had the coach start rolling that tackling wheel vertical. They're going to stay on this back side. So if he puts his foot in the ground, because these guys in just a few minutes, but we do this usually 1 or 2. We switch sides, and it doesn't take long. We can go through at least 2 to 3 reps in 5 minutes, and all of our speed side guys will go through and do this drill. So let me see if I can get this sucker to push. Aha! So this is our trim the fat drill. You see we got a group down here going this way. We got a group over here going this way. All right. So while this is going on with our speed side guys, over here is the second drill, which we call our zones drill, which I'm going to go over next. But just so you know how we set it up on the field. And that way I can be between both of them. And so just based on Friday night's performance, if we're having more trouble from speed side guys, I'm going to stay over here more. If our straight line guys are having trouble, I'm going to come over here more. Depends, on the week. But anyway, so this is the coach sending them. He's going to hug this line here. Let's see if I can. There we go. I'm going to let this play. There's our button press, and then he's leveraged. All right. So these guys are coming from the left. So he ripped butt side, outside of it, staying leveraged there. All right. There's another one up top. Button press, outside. All right. So these guys are coming from the right. These guys are coming from the left. So they'll get a rep or 2 on each. Just depending if we go deep left or deep right, they'll need to know both. Because these guys do switch sides in the scheme. Okay. So, do you have a question, Coach?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, cool. All right. So, big thing, guys, is just keep this coach understanding which leverage they should have, and teaching them kids. Keep them. This was the week before the state championship, so we do this every week, bar none. And so you got, we've probably done this, including summer, 16 to 18 weeks, and this is kind of the end result. So it's not bad. Now notice you only got 4 guys on the kickoff that are starting out of all these kids, and so. A lot of these guys are 9th graders we brought up, 10th graders that, are 2nd, 3rd string. And so they're just, by the time they get their shot at starting at this, he needs to work on throwing and going. There's just a lot of little things in this that you can coach up. Ripping butt side, pressing, good. Right there. And that's one of the starters. So you can see the difference. Those guys that are doing this, that are starters, you can tell the ones like him didn't get off the block, they'll miss the tackle. So great teaching point there. But we go through this, like I said, 2-3 times each, and then we move on to the best ones for the job. All right, second one is our zones drill. This is the one we've done forever. It has evolved over time. Now, I've got it drawn up with 5 lines. We usually use 3 lines. If you don't have enough kids, if you are at a small school, you can do it with 2 lines. But I would definitely do it with at least 2 lines so that they learn between the 2 guys. So basically, this is the drill where we teach them the zones, that they learn on day one. And so we teach them free run zone. This is crucial. And if they go get at top speed, so they close the space. And for every step that they're not at full speed here, the returner is at full speed going back the other way. And so free run zone, we do not want contact in the free run zone. We want to avoid contact. And so we teach them butt side and stacking. We go over front side because there are times if you can beat a kid with speed and he doesn't get to his landmark, you can beat him front side and it's a shorter path to the ball. We don't work that a whole lot. That kind of happens naturally when it's called for, but the butt side is the big thing. They always taught the offensive lineman, point your butt to the hole, and so these guys are doing the same thing. They're going to get their butt to where their back's going, returner's going. And so we're going to rip butt side. We're going to stack. That is the hardest thing probably of all this, to get kids to restack and for whatever reason. So we work real hard on stacking. And I'll tell you in a second how we have fixed that in the past. But bully zone, this is the zone where we want to get vertical movement. We want to two-gap this guy square. Don't pick a side. Stay right in the middle and just drive him straight back into the ball carrier. We always tell them if they pitter-patter, we win. And so if that ball carrier doesn't know whether to go left or right, he certainly ain't going straight if we're driving him back into him. And so we want him to go left and right, but pitter-pattering, we win. And so the finish drill, early on, what we do is we just do a simple throw and go from this guy. We want to throw our hands into our pockets, and then we want to go make the tackle. We just do a form tackle. We never go to the ground. We don't go live on that. It's just a form tackle. Now, the other piece to this that we end with, this is where it's evolved. We got to where we were talking about leverage, and we were teaching the leverage in a classroom type setting, but we wasn't really working it. And once we started doing this, we got a lot better. But basically what we do is we use one ball carrier for every 2 or 3 guys. And so the ball carrier, all it is the old basketball shuffle drill. So after he throws and goes, the one ball carrier is going to work left to right for 10 yards and for 2 to 3 seconds. It's not a lot. But if you're using these 3 lines and you got one ball carrier, this guy's leveraged on this shoulder, this guy's leveraged on this shoulder, and this guy is stopping vertical, making a pitter patter. And all they do is work side to side. They're going to stay squaring on that shoulder. He's going to stay squaring on his shoulder, and they're going to work side to side. And on the double whistle, they're going to fit him up and drive him back. And that leverage drill has become huge. We'll work it with 2 people leverage. We'll work it with 3 people leverage. But adding that leverage drill was huge in really teaching them where to fit. And so the thing we do a lot, what I'll do is on this particular drill to correct deficiencies. If I see something on Friday night that's not kosher, we're going to find the place in the zones drill or the trim the fat that it needs fixed. And so what we'll do is we'll turn this into a 2-whistle drill. So on the first whistle, they're going. And on the second whistle, they come to balance. They stop. And what that does is it gets them from overrunning things. If they're not stacking, I can show them where to get to be stacked so they physically understand what stacked means. If they're not vertically pressing the 2-gap, we can stop them while they're steadfast here. Just whatever the problem is, we can fix it. And then we blow the whistle and they continue the drill and finish it. And so that's kind of how we do the little whole deal where we cut back maybe as many reps, but we slow down and teach and get it right. And so that's the zones drill here. Let's try to see if I can, there it is. All right. All right. Down here at the bottom. And I wish I could move these videos of y'all. We do that on purpose just to help them understand what getting back on top and stacking is. And so got a coach down here. Usually I stand down here, or the guy running the drill is going to stand down here. We're going to avoid and stack butt side. They're going to drop the rip butt side stack, 2 gap. And now we're going to get into the leverage. The guy didn't stop his vertical movement there. So I never wanted to show videos that were like perfect, because to me, it's not the real world. You wouldn't have anything to coach off of. But these guys, this guy, the first guy in the middle, should be stopping vertical movement by the square. See, he should be dead in front of him. That's a young kid there. He hadn't been in yet, obviously. You can tell that. But that's why this kid was pushing him over. He is a starter. They understood. Boom, throw and go. See how much better that is? All 3 of those guys are starters. So anyways, that's how we do the zones drill. We've kind of hung our hat on that thing. Now I'm going to show you real quick here. Each time I got only time for.
You got about 5 to 6 minutes, Coach.
Perfect. So this is our typical deal. We go deep left, deep right. If we're fortunate to have a kicker. If we don't have a kicker, we're going to try to sky kick it to the wings. But, and we'll have those built in. But deep left, so 2, 3, and 4 here, those are those speed guys working trim the fat that we talked about. And so that's why we want them trimming that fat and not running vertical and then over. The 7, 8, 9 over here is your straight line guys that work that zones drill every week. All right, where they're avoiding and stacking, 2 gapping, and then staying leveraged right here. So 7, 8, 9 is going to be on this outside here towards the boundary. 2, 3, and 4 are leveraged to the field here. And then 6 is our headhunt. So he's the guy you're going to go say, he's our program guy. He's the toughest dude in the school. And so he's got no rules except tackle the man with the ball. And so we just want him flying down the field and causing havoc. So he'll set the wedge, set the gate right here in the middle, 7, 8, 9 to the outside, 2, 3, and 4 to this outside. He makes some pitter patter, and then we rally to the ball. Let me show you. I believe I got a deep left on here. Yeah, this is from the state championship. So we got deep left called here to our boundary. So this is 2, 3, and 4 up here. Now I let 1 and 5 move around just to mess up counts, but I'm not sure that ball don't go out of bounds if he don't catch it. So I was glad that he caught it. We typically want to kick the ball more towards the house, but I'm gonna show you. There's a lot that goes on here. So 2, 3, and 4 is coming from the field. All right. So the first guy down, he's trying to get back to his sideline. We knew that. But he's trying to set the edge here. He gets knocked down, but gets back up, thank goodness. But let me say, I don't know how to rewind this. Oh, yeah. Arrow is perfect. So let's go back. See, right now, he's looking to come back here. This is a straight line guy who has boundary leverage. Okay. He does not get back. But what does happen is he keeps coming down the field. Where's he at? There he comes. So he's coming from way outside down here at the bottom, right here. Doesn't make the tackle, but slowed him down enough to where the pursuit could get there. So we'll watch it one more time. This is one of my favorite things to watch. Let me rewind it for you. All right. Leverage sets the edge. Getting off blocks still. That's one of the best returners that we played all year. And we did it again. I got another one here to the deep right that I'm going to show you real quick, and then I'll wrap up, let y'all drill me with any questions you might have. So the same thing to the right. The only guys that flip are 2, 3, and 4, and 7, 8, 9. 1, 5, 6, and 10 don't flip. They got the same job regardless of where they're lined up. So I'm going to show you this last one. This is deep right. Like fast forward it. Here we go. See that he's two gapping right here, making him pitter patter. It's a great job. He stays leveraged to the outside. That's huge. And then pursuit gets there. That's actually the headhunter 6 that comes in there. Can't really see it, but I'll watch it at full speed here and see if you see 6 coming from in here. But that was a combination of one field guy, one boundary guy, and 6, all doing their job. So we got 3 guys on each side of the leverage. So if 1 or 2 of them does get knocked down or blocked, we've got 3 guys responsible for that same leverage. And so they work on fitting off of each other. So we gap exchange on the run. If one of them gets knocked inside, they'll gap exchange with him and make him right. So, all right. Well, that's kickoff in a nutshell. Easy peasy. What questions y'all got?
I think the main one, like as I've looked through chat and had people DM me and various other things, I mean, obviously special teams doesn't get the time the other settings do for a variety of reasons. And every head coach is different, as you kind of said. How many drills like per special teams you try to kind of limit it to?
I've never thought of it that way. I've always thought of it is as in, how do I fix the problem? In other words, I may need to just do something for 1 rep just to keep them sharp on things they're doing well. But if we're having a problem with something specific, I'm gonna find it within the drills we already do, and I'm gonna make the correction in that. We do both of those drills that I just showed you, along with taking a line, which I didn't show because we only do that early on in the season now because there's only a 5-yard run up. Back when you could run up from everywhere, we used to have to work that a lot. But now it's just a 5-yard run up. But we work on taking the line so that we're at the line of scrimmage when the ball's kicked, and we don't give up any free yards to the returner on that back end. But we do both of those drills in 10 minutes. And usually get, like I say, 3 to 4 reps of each.
What's his name?
What's that?
You're good, coach. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we do 3 or 4 reps of each on kickoff. Punt is a lot more walk and talk, a lot more teaching, coverage and reps. We rep it a lot. Punt return, we do 5 minutes of drill work and 5 minutes of scheme. And then we do kickoff return. We'll do about 5 minutes of drill work and 5 minutes of team. Now, that's all on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, we go through the whole routine. Thursday, we go through the whole routine. We go through them all, just the scheme. No drill work on Wednesday or Thursday. All the drill work's done on Monday and Tuesday.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir. Last question for you, Coach, so we kind of stay on time. For people who might have questions or want to get a hold of you, what is the best way for coaches either watching us now that are in the either YouTube stream or on the Zoom chat? What is the best way for coaches to kind of get a hold of you and reach out to you?
Yeah, right here on this. Can you see my screen still?
Yes, sir.
Contact information is right there. It might be kind of small. My email is richard.vester@coffee.k12.ga.us. And my cell phone number, text messages are appreciated, 863-528-2736. Twitter is at Victory FB Coach.
Okay.
Victory FB Coach.
Okay, perfect, Coach. Well, I thank you. Again, coaches, reach out to Coach if you want to get a hold of him. If you have any questions on anything special teams. And then as we kind of make this transition, I think Coach Gonzales is already on here. And Coach Vester, thank you again. And, oh, God. Oh, Coach. Coach Gonzales, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You can share your screen when you're ready, and then as you're doing that, I'm going to do some of my administrative stuff while you kind of get that together. Possibly. Wait, there. Yep. Give me.
All right, can I see that?
Yeah, give me 1 second, Coach, and then I will do all my. And that way, and I'm also. I love this picture, by the way, Coach. Let me do my little. I want to pull back up my thing just to make sure I don't miss anything. Coaches. Like I said, we're going to continue on so we stay on time. Because if I ramble or just start doing the social stuff, like I said, we're going to get like 15 minutes behind, and I probably could ask Coach Gonzales here about 18,000 questions before we get started. And like I said, and sidetrack this whole thing. So I'm going to kind of keep it this way, and then we can kind of go from there. Coach Gonzales is an assistant coach at Kenedy High School in the beautiful and great state of Texas. He's going to kind of talk the flex T and kind of what it is and kind of everything from there. So, Coach, the floor is yours, sir.
I appreciate you guys. Then we'll jump right into it and talk a little bit about my background and where this is all coming from. This is year 21 for me, and the majority of my time that I spent has been on the defense side of the ball, secondary, pretty much every position. As an assistant and again as a coordinator. Over the years, you know how it is. You're a student of the game. You're always, and nowadays with with the internet and YouTube and all the information that's out there, you steal ideas and that type of deal. But over the years, being on the defensive side of the ball, there's been offenses that I've faced personally over the years that have just given us fits, and there's been different schemes that have given us fits, and there's and each offense, of course, whether it's the 1-back shotgun, 3-back, flex bone stuff, like it's all unique in its own way, and it's all about how you coach it and how hard you get your kids to play, and we know that. But over the years, I've kind of just been stealing ideas and trying to figure out a way to merge it all into one offense. To be multiple is the biggest thing. The majority of my experience has been with the slot T. It's an offense is very similar to the wing T stuff. You run your buck sweeps and then your quick traps and your tackle traps and play action stuff out of a tight end set or double tight end set with 3 backs in the backfield. And then I've had the privilege to play against some very good flex bone teams. Coach Whitaker over in Port Vaca did a good job, and they were in our district. And every year we went up against them. It was always that week was tough to prepare for them just because we're not used to it. Our kids, especially, we're not used to seeing that type of offense. So it always gave us fits. And then, of course, we went against teams that they run the shotgun tempo stuff, and that always gave us fits. So, as a defensive guy, we got to prepare for that. And when you're dealing with high school kids, you got 3 days to get them ready. It's tough. And so over the years, I've kind of been picking ideas, and that's how it came about the flex T offense. And I want to jump right into it because I think I've rambled enough along. My vision as far as what I believe that would make us successful, and in the years that we have been successful, these are the things that kind of taken away from those years. I think you got to be different. I think you got to think outside of the box, especially when you have kids that are not very big or may not match up to other teams, especially when you go 3-4 rounds into the playoffs. You got to be built different when you get to that point, because you know how it is. Everybody's good once you get deeper into the playoffs. I think you can't play to your opponent's strengths. You got to be able to be different in a certain way. I think the key is to be multiple. And by being multiple offensively, you make your opponent have to prepare for what you do week to week, and you can kind of force your opponent to play your game and make it hard for them to have to prepare for you. So I want to start off with a question. Let me move this. With the question, okay, what is the hardest offense to prepare for? So I want to start the talk with this question in mind. All right, thinking about your experience. Is it the shotgun one back? Is it the two back stuff? Is it your no back offense? Is it the tempo offense? I know when you throw a tight end in there, that changes your alignment and the way you call your strength. Is it the slot T? If you guys are familiar with slot T, with T, very similar. And then of course you got your flex foam stuff. So looking and thinking about all that, as I was coming up and running this offense, I always, with the defensive side of my mindset, I always thought about what makes it hard for defense to prepare for. And this is how I came about this. Okay, so having the best strategy, and this is kind of, some of you guys have heard of the book, Art of War, okay? And of course, it's one of the most influential work of military strategy on battle that stands true to today. And a lot of experts use it just to help you and give you some ideas of how to prepare when you're going against competition. Some of the things that really stood out and really got me thinking about the offense, there's a couple of quotes in there. And one of them was, do not repeat the tactics that have gained you one victory, but let your methods be regulated by the infinite variety of circumstances. And I think exactly what he's talking about is being multiple in your attack. And there's a lot of value to that, to being multiple with your attack, because you can really zero in on your opponent's weakness and then find a way to attack that. A couple of other ones. One that reminded me of the flex zone. Supreme excellence consists of breaking the opponent's resistance without fighting. And we all been there. Up front, they got monsters. They got a 3 technique that you just can't block. So you got to have an answer for that. So the answer for that is in my opinion, is instead of trying to block them, you read them. And there's a lot of value to that. Another quote that stood out the most was, the whole secret lies in confusing an opponent so that he cannot fathom your real intent. And with the slot T, there's a lot of pride. And I learned this from Coach Sosa. I worked with him and I know him for over 18, 19 years. The misdirection, stuff that he brings in his playbook and stuff I learned from him, the carrying at your face, rocking the baby, the quick traps and book sweeps and the play actions and the strings he does out of the slot T. And if you're familiar with the slot T, you know it's very, can be multiple, but at the same time it's physical, and then there's a lot of misdirection to it. So a lot of times teams cannot find the ball. And then the last one that I got was, so in war, the way to avoid what is strong is to strike what is weak. And again, we run some gun T stuff over the years, and that's kind of grown into some popularity this past few years. A lot of teams running the gun T, and I like the gun T. That's our kind of like our shotgun package when we want to go tempo and want to sling the ball and run all those fancy concepts that people do out of the spread, out of the gun. That allows us to kind of still keep the integrity of our offense, but still be able to sling the ball around and get it out in open space. That's our version of our Flex T playbook. All right, moving on. Best way I can explain the Flex T, what it is to me is a three-headed beast. It's the flex phone option, the slot T, and the tempo shotgun offense all merged into one. It's taking the strengths of all three and making one. Again, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's simply just taking the best, most effective plays out of the flex zone, whether it's midline and inside veer, the shotgun, the slot T, and whether it's the quick traps and buck sweeps, play actions, the waggle, all that good stuff, and then the tempo shotgun stuff, and using it to attack your opponent. And the best part to me about this is it gives us the ability to be multiple and adapt to personal strengths and gives us an answer to any situation. It allows you to be multiple week to week, year to year, depending on your personnel. It's a playbook that you can use. If you got a quarterback that can really sling it, then maybe you're going to go and run a little bit more shotgun, gun T stuff. Or if you got a quarterback that's maybe short, more athletic, and more of a runner, maybe sticking more with the flex bone, slot T stuff. And again, it allows you to be multiple, not only for you as far as being able to adapt to your personnel. It's also when you're watching film and you see that their secondaries suspect, then maybe that week you're gonna focus a little bit more on gun T stuff and then be able to throw the ball. Or if you see that they got the speed at the linebacking position and then you're not going to reduce themselves up front, they're huge up front and you're not going to be able to get a whole lot of movement, then maybe you will run some of that flexible concepts where instead of blocking them, now you're going to read them but at least have an answer to counter what they're good at and then be able to have an answer. It's a run-oriented offense that utilizes angle blocking, the misdirection, and then reading your opponent to get the numbers advantage at the point of attack. Of course, that's the flex home stuff. But still have the air it out capabilities. Okay, being multiple with your power run game, your option reading game, and your tempo passing game that's sound and effective. Okay, any questions?
Nope, you're good so far, Coach.
Cool. Okay, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and move on, okay? So again, guys, over the years, you know how it is. You've been in profession long enough. It's all about stealing ideas, sharing ideas, and anything that I'm presenting, it's nothing new. It's all stuff that's been around for years and decades and generations. And I just, with the Flex T, found a way to be able to take parts of each one and then make it our own. All right, so this is a base formation, and then let's talk about. I want to talk about some strengths and weaknesses. What we found as we adapt, and of course, every year you add a little bit, you take a little out. But this is our base alignment. This is what we call M-flick. We call our wideout a swingman. All right, that's the slot T terminology. All this is the slot T terminology. Okay, you got a strong side, and then you got a quick side, just like the wing T. You got your strong end, your typical tight end. You got your halfback, you got your strong tackle, strong guard, center, quick guard. And I'll quickly go over some of this and how the flex zone fits a little bit more better to the quick side as it does to the strong side. And then we got a swing man or a typical fullback or quarterback under center. So let's talk about some benefits real quick, and I'll go a little bit more into personnel, how we personnel the front. But our some of the benefits that we find that in being able to run this stuff is it forces assignment football for defense. I think it makes it hard to where you got to find a way to be sound to the quick tracks, the sweeps, the play actions, and in the running game. So I think it puts defenses in a bind. You have multiple ball carriers. So at any time, you can have the quarterback, the fullback, the tailback, the swing, the halfback carry the football. By reading, like the flex zone concepts, by reading, you add one or two blockers at the point of attack. Okay? Of course, it's not typical. It's not common. So it's hard for opponents' scout teams to simulate throughout the week. You try to get your JV team to try to simulate this stuff. It's not going to happen. Or your varsity is going to get a poor look, and I promise you, your scout team coach is not going to be happy. It neutralizes their best defender. Okay, you don't have to block their best players. You can read them. Okay, of course, that's the flexible stuff concepts. Angle blocking. It's great angle blocking for undersized linemen. Okay, with the slot T, with the quick tracks and the wing T stuff. You don't have to have big linemen. You can get away and be productive and be a good running team by utilizing the angle block and pulling your guards and double teams and that type of deal. The misdirection slows down pursuit of the bigger, faster opponent. All right, and again, it forces some one-on-one matchups out there with the swingman. A lot of times they're just going to man up and try to load up the box. And if you got a mismatch here, that you can really use that and take advantage of that. Real quick about as far as personnel, our strong side typically are bigger, stronger linemen on our strong side, and that's where we're going to run a lot of our power, a lot of our zone, our ISOs, that type of deal. Back to the quick side is where we take advantage of more of the flex mode concepts, your midline, your mid doubles, even our jet package, or jet sweep package going back to the quick side once they start overloading the strong side. So that's kind of the idea behind it, right? Where we focus a little bit more flex mode stuff on here, and then our slot T, wing T stuff back to the strong side. Okay, moving on. All right, so the only difference right here when we go to shotgun is we still stay in our gun T, and we still have intact the integrity of what we're doing under center. We still run our buck sweep series back to the strong side, and we can run some ISO game back to the strong side. We can run our jet sweep stuff back to the quick side, along with our midline and our mid double and our mid triple, or even speed option back to the quick side. And at any time we can motion, this is important. Teams understand how to adjust to the one back sets out of the doubles. They have an answer to doubles. They have an answer to tricks, and they motion from doubles to tricks. They see that all the time, every week. But when they start seeing 3 back sets and they start to motion, all of a sudden you end up in trips out of the backfield. That's a different beast. And that's something you got to rep. And that's something kids aren't used to seeing, especially with everybody that does the shotgun. So a lot of times teams don't adjust right. They just don't adjust correctly. Or if you motion a tailback across, all of a sudden you're in a tray look, all right, with 3 older receivers that side, and you have them outflanked. So a lot of times teams aren't used to that, coaches aren't used to that, and especially kids aren't used to that. But let's get back to the gun stuff. Of course, this gun stuff, some of the benefits, it's all the same benefits because we keep the tight end intact. About maybe 90% of the time, 95% of the time, we're going to have a tight end in play. I know as a defensive guy, a lot of times you're going to set the strength to the tight end. So that kind of keeps defenses a little bit more predictable when you have that tight end intact. And of course, you can always go to trips, and then now you have all your passing game schemes that you can utilize, whether it's smash, all the things stuff that everybody else is running. You can really utilize that. But the key is to still keep the integrity of what you're doing with the flex zone stuff and with the slot T stuff, and force the defense again to have to defend another element of your offense. And you keep the same. And the best thing is to keep the same personnel if you can. That would be my best advice: is to use the same personnel to do it all. And then it really, really puts the defense on their heels, and it forces the defense to play vanilla, really be vanilla. And that's what we see week to week is you start to see teams that's base out of the 3-4, stay in the 3-4, where they can't load up on the box versus the run stuff, or if it's a 4-3 look or a 4-2-5 or whatever it is, they stay in their base vanilla coverage stuff just so they can be sound to everything. What makes it special, the Flex T special? Some of the things you can do out of it, I believe that's worked for us and it's given us, I think, an advantage is it controls the clock and it keeps the ball in your possession, which is, of course, the best defense. It's unique because it's something the opponents do not see. They don't see the flex ball, the slot T every week. And, of course, they only had 3 days to prepare for it. Flex T, I believe, is an equalizer. It's based on the misdirection, again, the angle blocking and reading the opponents. The angle blocking gives us leverage and allows us to use our quickness and not have to only rely on size and strength. And of course, the misdirection slows and confuses a bigger, faster, stronger opponent. in the past, and being with Coach Sosa and the slot T for so long in the past, we run a little bit of both. But we knew once we hit the playoffs that we're going to stay in our slot T stuff and use the misdirection stuff because it gave us the best chance to win. Allowed us to keep the ball away, and the further we went into the playoffs, I think the more productive offensively we were. And it gave us, like I said, the best chance to win. Everyone is involved. There's no spread them out and give the ball to the athlete. Like I said, it may work in some cases, but what happens when their athletes are better than ours? You better have an answer, okay? Since there's a strong side and a quick side, you get to cut and fit the personnel to maximize each position. All right, and this is what we believe allows us to be able to do all three. Okay, if you're familiar with the wing T or the slot T, we flip-flop the line, okay? All right, which allows us to teach and practice 2 plays in the same amount of time it takes our opponent to teach and practice 1. So we have right sets and left sets. So like I said before, this is our right set out of end split. And if we have, say, buck sweep to the right to our strong side, all right, we rep it that way, and then we just go end left, and it's the same exact play going back the other way. All right, so we take a lot of pride and understanding in that, and it allows us to really be able to add plays and to have a longer menu to be able to use week to week. Some of the benefits I feel that are comparison, it makes us different, and that's the biggest thing is it makes us different from a lot of other people. I think it allows us, and it checks off a lot of things. It allows us to control the clock. Of course, it's hard to simulate a practice. Your JV is not going to do a good job of it, so your varsity is not going to have a good look at it. It allows us to run the power run game. You can still win with an average quarterback, and that's important, I think. You can still be productive and still be good year to year and still play in December, even with an average quarterback. And then you still have the ability out of the gun T to have the quick strike capabilities. It has a physical style play. You can still be finessed with the gun T and also with the flex bone stuff. And then by reading, you add blockers at the point of attack. And then, of course, it's not an offense that you see every week. So that's why we choose to go and why I choose to run the flex T and what that is about. Some examples of how we call it. All right, and this is slot T terminology and how we call things. All right, because I want to start getting into some play calling. And let's start off with this. Our 1 back is the quarterback. Our 2 back is our tailback. Our 3 back is our fullback. And then the halfback is 3 back is our fullback. And then our halfback is the fullback. Okay, so in the slot T terminology, a play may sound just like this. And Tom, 234 zone. Okay, all right. Number 1 is our series. That's our 200 series. Our 200 series is a ride series. So in the slot T terminology, all 200 series is all ride series. Is the motion of the quarterback and the running back. All right. 3, the second number, 234, 3 backs getting the ball. So our fullback's getting the ball, and he's hitting the 4 hole. Okay. So that's how we call it. Ends of formation. Tom is a tailback motion D over behind the tailback. So M Tom 234 zone, and that tells us the line blocking. Okay, so that's how we number everything, and that's how we break everything up into series. So we have and I'll go over the playlist here in a little bit if I get time to. But we have our 200 series, which is our ride series. We'll run a lot of our power game. We run a lot of our option midline and inside veer of a truck 200 series. Our 300 series in the flex T is our jet series. So we run a lot of our jet sweeps up out of 300, and then our 400 series is our buck series. Okay. One of the questions that we always ask is, how do you prepare and how do you rep all this stuff and still be sound and be able to cover all this stuff? And of course, you know how it is. Every year is a little bit different. If you got an experienced quarterback, an experienced line, of course you take it on and you add on to the menu. If you're young, then of course you got to come back from a lot of that stuff. So it all depends on personnel. So that's how we cover a lot of the stuff. And this is an example. We half line stations. Of course, when we go half line, we'll have our strong side working all of our 200 or strong series plays, and then we throw different punches like everybody else does. But this is a way to really maximize the time and really get a lot of reps in. All right. So we got a coach lining up the JV or scout team, and then we have our ones going here. All right. And then our ones going up here to the quick side, working all the quick side plays. So our 300 series and our 200 series, that's our 233 midline and lead and follow a lot of that. And then 235 option. And then our jet series, that 300 series, where we're working on those blocking. So we have a menu, and then usually we'll go 5-10 minutes and we'll just rep as many plays as we can for that day. We'll do half line station. That's been good to us in the past. Another thing that we do is we got pods. And a lot of you guys already heard, we got a strong pod, we got a mid pod.
About 3 minutes, coach.
Okay. All right. So we work all of our quick traps with the mid pod, and then our double teams, and then our attack out and perimeter here, and the same thing on the strong side. And again, that's a way that we break it up to really maximize. And depending on what we need to work on, those are the things we kind of focus. Group sessions. Let me move on and show you a little playlist real quick. We already talked about spacing. So here's what kind of a playlist would look like, a varsity playlist. We got our gun series. These are the plays out of it, the 200 series, 300 series, and 400 series. With COVID, we kind of transitioned to a lot of Google stuff. So this has been really good to us in the past. So if you see here, we get a playlist, and our kids and our coaches will share this, and I share this with them. And if we want to know how to block midline, it links and it takes them straight to midline presentation, 233 midline. And it goes over all the blocking assignments, and then they can also see the front and the diagram of it. Okay. And then it jumps to the different fronts, and then it jumps into and some of these, let me go back to, and then let's see, I'll show you this. So on this one, it jumps into a presentation. So this is me teaching 349, all right, versus a 4.2. So every kid, and then I'll go over the three main fronts, and every kid, and the kids, and it's really, I did it at the start. I did it for our coaches because I want them speaking the same language. I think that's very important, and it holds a lot of value. If we're all talking about pulling and kicking out and pulling and stealing and G blocks and double teams and what we call double teams and the checks, if we're all talking the same language, and we get the kids, teach the kids to teach and talk the same language, it's so much more efficient, especially when they come to the sideline and they're able to communicate what's going on and what type of fun, if they got a no shade or whatever the deal may be. I think it's important that the kids, your coaches, we're all speaking the same language. I think that holds a lot of value to that. What are some other things I can share real quick? Coach, how much time do we have?
About a minute and change, so I can ask about at least one question. So,
okay. Some of the things. I'm going to go back to this playlist, and I'll go ahead and just finish up with that. And of course, it's a system, and as you see, I have a playlist for 7th grade that they use, and it's all of our base stuff, and it's only the 200 series, 300 series, and a 400 series. 8th grade, they get a little bit more, and then so forth. Let me go back to. But it's a system that's in place, And it's something that starts off with 7th grade, just like any other good program. It starts off with 7th grade, and the playlist, the 7th grade coaches, I want them talking the same language. When we're talking about double teams and what we call this type of double team, or what we call, for example, when we have a 7 technique, the double team between the strong end and the halfback, it's a Batman call. I'm sorry, it's a Robin call. The double team between the strong tackle and the halfback is a Batman call. So they learned that in 7th grade. So by the time they get to high school, it's already engraved. So we take a lot of value and we take a lot of pride in getting it started early in 7th grade. So what's another thing that I think, some other things I think that's unique to what we do. Again, the pods, that's been something that we added a few years back that's really has been a game changer for us. The way we maximize get as many reps as possible, and reps are key. I remember one time I heard Coach Shanaher, who's a now retired coach from Cal, and was the winningest coach in Texas history, and his whole lecture was just on reps. He said it's all about reps. He says it's nothing special we do. We just maximize the time we have, and we rep the heck out of it. And he invests a lot in the junior high program and then he said it right to our face, and we're in the same district. He says, we're going to plan to beat you in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, and in JV. And by the time your kids step on the field on Friday night against us, you already got to beat. So he talks about the mental aspect of that too. And he's really big on reps, and that's one thing I learned from him was making sure that you rep it enough, and then you also start them off early and in 7th grade, and finding a way to make sure that they're winning at the junior high level, and that's where it all starts off at. But I'm not sure how much more time we got to cover some stuff. If y'all have any questions?
I had 2 questions for you, Coach. So first one is, and I may have missed it as I was listening, because I'm tweeting and doing all that stuff as this goes on. What is your typical order of series install wise? I know you have the series is broken up.
Right.
And again, that kind of I get that may alter slightly year to year, but ideally, what order in your progression there? What series you start with first, then order from there?
First series is a 200 series. The way we install it, Conservative would install the 100 series, which is all the misdirection stuff. But we jump into our right series, and we rep that. We start to install that, the bread and butter of that, and then of course our 400 series, the quick traps and buck sweeps. That's our kind of like our wing T stuff. Those are the 2 series that are week 1 must install. And then we generally, depending on what because the plays are the same once we go into gun.
Yeah.
That doesn't change. So it's just in gun, it's just a different formation. So our 200 series is still the same out of the gun. It's just out of the shotgun. So that's more of the back timing issue and mesh stuff. And then the third is our 300 series, our jet series, and the counters off of that. Of course, we got 2-minute drill stuff that we'll install later on special plays, special trick plays, and that type of deal. But it's 200 first, 200, 400 is our first install, bread and butter, week 1. And then after that, we start introducing the gun stuff and then the 300 stuff. And just like anything else, it all depends on the personnel.
Okay. And then my last question for you, because again, time is of the essence here. So kind of what is the best way for coaches who want to reach out to you that are either watching this now on the live stream, that jumped in and out, that watch this later? What is the best way to kind of reach out to you, Coach?
Well, here you go. Here's my email, and here's my cell phone number. So I'm willing to share and talk, but if you want to later on get more to detail about practice plans or blocking assignments or how we call things or do things, or want to talk a little bit more about philosophy, we can do a Zoom meeting and set that up. But just reach out to me. Either text me or email me is probably the best way.
Do you have a personal preference out of the two, email or text?
Email would probably be better because if I want to share stuff, it's a little bit easier to share and share files that way through my computer.
Okay, perfect, Coach. Well, thank you. I know 25 to 30 minutes is not an obscene amount of time, but again, I've found it makes coaches go and eliminates a lot of the 10 to 15 minutes of here's my background as a and 30-year coaching history. So it kind of, I like it because it gets to the point and makes coach goes personally. And I think most of the speakers have seen them like it and people that have watched it. But I do truly appreciate it. It was a good time. Like I said, I've been able to talk to some slot T guys, and obviously this off season, and obviously I've had a bunch of flex bone and wing T guys, and obviously when you have a podcast named the Gap Downbacker Podcast, you know a little bit, but I do appreciate it. I thank you. And then again, coaches that are watching, go ahead and email or text or call Coach, preferably email, and he can kind of expand on that, and maybe either next year or later in the year we can have Coach back on. So thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you. Thank you for everything that you do. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Coach. All right, and then on to where Joel, can you hear me, my friend? Let's see if he.
Yeah, I got you.
All right, my friend, you are good to share your screen while I grab my thing to do my little spiel.
Right on.
While Coach is sharing his screen, a friendly reminder: like the video so people can find it easier as they go back through. Again, don't hesitate to reach out to all of our fantastic speakers that we've had in session 1 or session 2. And then Joel is the – oh, God. You're going – I probably should have asked you how to pronounce your school before I started this.
and Sobrato High. It's only at Sobrato High School.
Sobrato High School. Like I should have. Like I know better. Like you know that. And I know better. So Coach is coming back on the channel. He's been on before podcasts and stuff. He's going to kind of talk wing T, blocking, game planning for buck sweep and crisscross counter. Coach, the floor is yours, my friend.
All right, thank you, Coach. Thank you. It's good to be back on. Last time I was on, I was actually at a different school. So since then, I've taken over as a head coach here in my hometown at Sobrato High School. Emails up on the screen there. Got my Twitter handle there on the screen if you want to take a moment to write that down. Otherwise, I'll be talking about game planning for how we block, buck, sweep, and we'll get into some crisscross counter. All right, so real quick, who we are, we're a public school in Morgan Hill, California, with a population of 1,500. For some, that might seem like a lot, but their schools are about 3,000 in the area. Built in 2004, never had a Division I scholarship player come through our doors. So, I mean, that might be part of the reason why we run the system that we do, to be able to compete with some of those schools that have some of those stellar athletes. Me as a coach, raised in Morgan Hill, went to Sobrato class of 2010, played junior college ball, went out to Waldorf University in Iowa, played my 4-year ball there. Really grew as a student of the game there under some pretty good coaches that had stints overseas in the GFL. And then as far as high school coaching, coached at Gilroy High School, Monte Vista Christian High School, and then I'm back at Sobrato High School. All right, getting into buck sweep, okay, and how we prepare or kind of attack a game week with it. First thing we want to do when we install or kind of lay down the foundation is our alignment. Okay, mostly up front, it's going to be our depth. Okay, so we want to make sure we're about 2 to 2.5 feet split between each of our players. And then this is kind of the key here is we want to make sure when our kids get down in their stances that their helmet ends up on the center's hip. Okay, I think this could go overlooked a lot of the time, but what this does is utilizing this depth really helps with our angles of our releases, our angles of departure to our blocks. And some people say, hey, you guys are lining up way too far in the backfield. Well, refs will typically give us one, maybe even two warnings before they throw a flag for anything like that. So they'll usually approach me and say, hey, you guys need to scoot up a little bit or whatnot. So again, we want to test the limits there. We want to be as far back as possible just so we can use those angles to our advantage. Okay, so here that green space is going to be the space between our O lineman besides the center and the defensive lineman. Okay, and I'll go ahead and the next slide here is going to go ahead and give you a good visual representation. We're in gun here, but still, okay, that's a lot of space between our linemen. Go ahead and give them those solid angles. Okay, whereas if their helmets were on the shoulder, okay, we essentially lose a good amount of those angles with our angles of departure. All right, into the scheme. Okay, don't want to take too much time here. I'm sure plenty of us know the X's and O's on buck sweep. But really quickly here, wing back, tight end, and play side tackle. Okay, that good old gap down backer tagline there. Okay, so that's our rule, gap down backer. One thing I'll get into is this play side tackle here. Okay, he's working all the way down to the center. Okay, so if there's someone in this A gap or he's shaded the center, our center wants to reach to the play side. He'll have help with the down blocking tackle. The center can take care of it by itself. The tackle will go ahead and climb. Center, play side A, or if we're in gun, we tell them play or away, meaning play side, working back to the away side. Backside tackle, okay, he has a home run block, or if we're in gun, we'll have a hinge block. Under center or fullback, we'll be responsible for the backside A. And then arguably the most important parts of running buck sweep here are going to be our guards. Okay, our play side guard, we really want to make it a point, okay, even though we are lined up with depth, like I referred to earlier, okay, is we want to be able to get through any penetrating defensive lineman, any crashing or stunted defensive lineman, or in any words, any junk. Okay, so what we tell our play side guard as a coaching cue is get around the junk. Okay, and to get around the junk, what he does is he imagines he's standing on the clock, and I say, hey, your first step, open up to 5 o'clock. So opens up his hips, okay, opens up his angle of departure to be able to go ahead and get around the junk. Okay, and then he's pulling right, so we'll make sure he hits it with his right shoulder. So PR, pull right, hit right. Okay, backside guard, flat and fast. Okay, once he gets to about the A gap, he wants to go ahead and pull with depth. Okay, we call that a question mark pull because his path, okay, looks like a question mark. Okay, the reason he's doing that rounded part of the question mark again is to get around the junk. Okay, by the time he gets there, there could be a pile there. There could be someone clogging up the B or the C gap. Okay, we want to get around the junk. Okay, his job is to pull, lead up in the alley, and keep leverage. So if a scraping linebacker, as he's turning up in the holes inside of him, okay, we want him to seal or keep him inside, and our back will read his butt to make his cut. Or if that flowing backer is going fast to the running lane, he can go ahead and essentially turn it into a kick-out block, and our back will cut it up inside. Okay, so essentially we want to hit it right here in this blue alley. Okay, and then our backside tackle, okay, that home run block. What that does, we tell him if you're able to hustle over here and block that safety out, what you're doing is you're making a natural cutback lane for our running back. Okay, so but you can make that natural cutback lane for our running back. That's potential for a home run play. Game behind the last line of defense. All right, in terms of buck sweep, what do we prepare for on a weekly basis, or what are we kind of looking at? Okay, starting up front with the defensive linemen's alignments. Okay, see if they stunt or if they'll stem. Okay, one thing I think goes overlooked is if they are penetrators or if they're readers. And I'll get into that in a minute. And then from there, we look at the linebacker's assignment, specifically that overhang player, their force player. And then we want to see if they dial up any pressures. All right, so defensive line, looking at them, okay. So we, week to week, it's kind of like a flavor of the week type of deal. We'll see various fronts, okay, 30, 40, or 60, an eagle front or 50 front. Now, bottom line is we tell our guys, your rules are your rules. Don't deviate from your rules and stay on your track. Okay, so I'm telling my play side tackle, hey, your rules are your rules. Your down block is your down block. Stay on that down block track. If there's no one to block, move up to the next level. A linebacker will show eventually. Okay, stay on your track. If you ever see a train, trains don't take left or right turns. They stay on their track and they go forward. My tackles, tight ends, my wingbacks, you're a train. Stay on your track. D-line stunts, okay. Essentially, what I've boiled it down to two things. Are they penetrating or they're reading? Okay, penetrating meaning if they're lined up in the gap, they're trying to get in that gap extremely quickly, extremely aggressive. Okay, if they are, we have a different approach as to if they're reading. So if they're reading what the offensive line is doing, they're reading pullers, they're reading reach blocks, etc. Okay, so penetrators, what we do, we want a far shoulder down block. Keep our eyes up. Okay, and then we want to utilize that alignment, that depth alignment. We don't want to go to where the target is. We want to go to where he's going to be. Okay, and against a penetrator, we want to utilize horizontal displacement. Okay, so we really want to wash him down toward the center. Okay, we encounter defensive linemen that are readers. Okay, so they're reading pullers. They want to cross space. They're reading reach blocks. They're trying to fight those reach blocks. Okay, we turn this into a near shoulder down block. Okay, this allows us to have our near shoulder tied up into the defender. Our near foot is up. Okay, kind of developing kind of like a post position. Okay, and we're able to create vertical displacement. Okay, versus a reading or a cross-facing defender. Okay, it's really difficult for them to fight pressure with pressure while they're trying to cross face, especially if you're creating that vertical displacement opposed to that horizontal displacement. Okay, reading defensive linemen, they want your momentum going the opposite way they're trying to go. They want to be able to wrong arm you or swim move or rip across your face. Okay, so again, near shoulder down block on a reader and create vertical displacement opposed to horizontal displacement. All right, next up, one thing that you can key off of film, pretty, and it does tend to stand out, is linebacker alignment, specifically how they line up to your wing, back, or your tight end, or any special techniques they do. So some questions I ask while watching film. Do they align on the line of scrimmage or are they off the line of scrimmage? Okay, are they splitting the wing and tight end? Are they outside the wing? Are they following the wing back or tight end? Or what? And then also, what technique are they playing? So here, this is not my team. We actually played against this team in the white. So this is the team I was looking at. A couple plays in, I noticed this guy right here with the black socks and the black sleeves. He was one of their dudes that essentially they had him trailing the tight end and wing, specifically the wing back. Okay, so here he's with the wing. Here again, he's with the wing. Okay, with the wing again up top. Down on bottom with the wing. Okay, and that's just pre-snap alignment. Okay, what really sealed the deal and what really showed us that that's what they were doing was when we pulled up the film here and we watched, instead of just watching where a huddle starts the snap of the ball, I took it back and watched them break the huddle watch all their pre-snap stuff. So we had his team traded, and they obviously wanted that guy on the wing, the other guy in space. Okay, again, down at the bottom, team traded. There goes Black Sox, Black Sleeve. Okay, that he was one of their dudes. They wanted them at the point of attack, at the most likely point of attack. Okay, again, this is a different team. Okay, it just so happened we had film of two teams we played against this team in black that ran a similar system as us. Essentially the same type of deal. Okay, I believe the team in white, 21 was their guy following the wing. Okay, so they traded, and these guys traded. Okay, one thing about this group here is they didn't just trade one guy. Okay, the team in black traded two, and they had about 5 or 6 moving pieces here. So that's one thing that intrigued me, and I'll go and do it a little bit more when we get this second clip here. Pause that. Back here. So if you look again back in the top left, not only is 21 changing, but their defensive backfield's changing, their linebackers are changing. 21's flopping sides. Okay, so that was something I was able to key on that week. And then we got another trade here, same type of deal. Okay, a lot of moving parts. And then this is kind of like let me go back here. This is kind of like an ad lib here. But there's something to look at as you prepare is when they traded here, this trade and this defensive adjustment, was it the same? And it wasn't. Probably because of where they ended up in the traditional tight end wing with 2 split receiver side compared to this. But that's how you can start getting the X's and O's down to see how they adjust to what you do. Okay. Initially, I'll just focus on number 21 and seeing if he was a guy following the wing. Turned out he was. And the reason why he was is as we get into this, how are they playing us? Okay, so number 21 for this white team, his sole job was to disrupt buck sweep. Okay, so if you see him here at the top left, he's at the bottom. His sole responsibility was to crash hard between the tight end and wing and try to just disrupt our pullers or disrupt our down blocks. Okay, so he just tried to go and create junk, create a bunch of mess. Okay, regardless if it's a run or a pass. So you tell this guy's had an RPO here, but still at the point of attack. He's not reading much. He's just flying in. Okay, then again, same guy, same technique. There's a trade. It's flying in. Okay, just trying to be a disruptor. So that's how, and it remained consistent with this team in white. We played these guys week 9, and they lined up the same athlete trying to play the same technique to our tight end wing. So that allowed us to kind of prepare and do a handful of different things. Like we would trade to get numbers, or we do a fake trade. So to center our tight end and wing would reset, but when they got to the center, they'd sprint back to the original spot. And seeing how this team was kind of adjusting with 5 or 6 guys, it kind of caught them off guard for a split second. One, I think they had to call timeout once. But yeah, that's looking at stuff like that helps us prepare for how to run buck sweep.
5 minutes, Coach.
Yeah. Was that a question?
5 minutes.
Right on. Good timing. Now we'll get into crisscross counter. Okay, so one of the counters of buck sweep or power under center. Okay, so quickly what this looks like is everyone from the play side tackle to the backside guard, they're down blocking and they're washing everyone down. Okay, so we want to create solid horizontal displacement. Okay, backside tackle. He's pulling downhill, pulling left, hitting with his left shoulder for a true kick-out block. On our tight end or a wide pulling leading. Okay, we want to stay tight. We tell him to stay as close to his teammates as possible. And once he sees green, he's checking his mirrors. So again, as a teacher, a lot of these guys are learning how to drive or just starting to drive. So I tell them, check your mirrors, meaning keep your head on the swivel, look for the first threat. Once you see him, you got him. Fullback is aiming for the outside foot of the tight end, and he's kicking out or keeping any defender that might leak through away. Okay, our halfback receiving the handoff. We don't have him receive the handoff like a traditional handoff. What we have him do is get the ball with his pinkies together and his fingers down. Okay, that way when the ball touches his hands, he can secure it with his fingertips and then immediately start to push it out for the second handoff. And we don't put a whole lot of pressure on it in terms of being a second exchange. We teach it as just a normal play. This is how we do it. Don't overthink anything. I feel like if the coaches put extra emphasis on, oh, you got to secure the ball in this double handoff, then that player just start thinking about it, and it just creates unnecessary stress or worrying. So we treat it like a normal play, tell them how to receive the ball, tell them how to get the ball once, and just let the kids play. Okay, the wingback, he's going to open up toward the middle of the formation, let the fullback clear. And then it's an inside handoff. He receives the ball like a traditional handoff, and we tell him to follow that tight end and run the grass. Okay, and then for our quarterback, he's on midline, and it's just a traditional buck sweep mesh. When we decide to counter, okay, just like the play, calling the play, you have to consider the timing. Okay, is it set up? Have you ran to the wing back a good amount of times? Is that your running to the wing back? Is that your bread and butter? Do you run your powers? Do you run your buck sweeps? Are the linebackers reading linemen? Okay, you can tell right away if you run buck sweep, if you run your powers or any plays with any false pulls. That'll help verify those linebackers are reading linemen or being disciplined to their reads. Okay, and then anything situational. So down in distance. Okay, if you're a primarily buck sweep team and you're every time it's second and 5 or first and 10, you run buck sweep, break the tendency. Throw a crisscross counter in there. If it's second and 1, and they expect any power run, throw a crisscross counter in there. Anything that'll break a tendency. Okay, you want to run it into the field or into the boundary. Okay, again, that's a team or self-scout type of deal. Okay, what the other team's response to motion is, that's when we're in gun. We'll run our crisscross off of a jet sweep, and then utilize any unbalanced formations. Okay, unbalanced formations kind of dictating or giving the insinuation that you're running to that unbalanced formation every time. Okay, so the last 2 slides here are just diagrams of how we would utilize those things. So here's in our gun, we go unbalanced tight end and our split end on the same side. Okay, wing back also to the field. Then we have our motioning receiver to the boundary. So we want to show we have 4 of our 5 eligibles to the field. We're motioning our 5th eligible to the field to kind of give a good solid unbalanced jet sweep look. Okay, and then we counter back the crisscross counter into the boundary. Okay, so pre-snap, if I was to eliminate all the lines, okay, if you go through your checkbox, a good amount of that would say, hey, they're probably going to the field in some way. Okay, just to counter back. Then under center, same type of deal. Okay, same hash, unbalanced to the field. Okay, we have a good unbalanced power look running to the field just to go crisscross counter back into the boundary. Okay, and then to tie this in to what I mentioned with the buck sweep, our home run block would be this condensed receiver here. Okay, so that if he can block that safety or that whoever that last line of defense is, that'll create that natural cutback lane for the ball carrier. Okay, and then whether one thing I'll highlight, whether it's under center or in gun, we coach the handoffs the same. So pinkies down, receive the ball there, and then push it back for the second handoff. And that's about what I have for weekly prep for blocking, buck sweep, and crisscross counter. If you have any further questions or want to talk anymore, my email is right there on the screen, along with my Twitter or X handle.
Okay, before you kind of go, Coach, just one quick question. Like, I mean, from a install order, like, is buck sweep a day one for you? Buck sweep day one, and then when do you from there add crisscross?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But buck sweep for us is our bread and butter. We call it Jack, so we install our Jack series first. What's involved with that is buck sweep, trap, waggle, and then we'll go from there. We'll go power, and then crisscross counter. So crisscross counter is probably third in terms of series install.
Okay. Well, coaches, don't hesitate to reach out to Coach. Coach has obviously been on. You can find some other stuff on the channel with him. But yeah, shoot him an email or follow him on Twitter and shoot him a DM there. Coach will talk ball with you and get back to you pretty quickly. Otherwise, Coach, I appreciate you coming on and helping out as normal. And if you need anything, as always, let me know, Coach.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Coach. Much appreciated.
No problem, Coach. Coaches, we're going to kind of wrap up the night with one last speaker. Coach Holzer has been on our channel before. It's been a little bit, but again, I'm trying to we both stay busy. Me and Coach Holzer both stay busy. I mean, that's just the Coach. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep. I mean, Coach is going to talk a little. You can go and share your screen when you're ready, Coach. Coach is going to talk a little run and shoot, game planning, and kind of just overall, what's the word I want to look for? I'm losing my mind. That's why I'm looking at my list. Game and practice planning in the run and shoot. Sweet Lord. It's been a long day, Coach. And like I said, I don't think Coach needs a long introduction or anything. But Coach is a long-time run and shoot guy. Been on the channel before, and kind of, as you kind of see, the 2023 3A region champs. So, Coach, I'm going to just let you do you and finish up our night, Coach.
All right, cool. I appreciate it. Yeah, just cut me off whenever you need to. So I kind of get rolling and I forget. So, but no, thanks for having me. It's fun to be back. Yeah, like Coach said, it's with little kids, it's always interesting. Like I just walked off a lacrosse field about 7 o'clock. So it's interesting between wrestling and lacrosse and all that, but it keeps you busy, keeps you young. So we kind of branded ourselves the Southern Maryland Shoot because we're down in Southern Maryland, run like a hybrid of the run and shoot. So we kind of came up with something catchy. TTS is something that I stole from my wife's family is all Naval Academy. So we stole it from one of their family friends Admiral Lynch, who was in charge of the Eisenhower Strike Group. And he always talked about, I guess it was a Naval Academy thing, shipmate self. And I just was like, that's pretty cool. It applies to football with the team. So I stole it and bastardized it and called it teammate self. It's on all of our gear and all that stuff. This is my background. I won't go through it all, but I've been a head coach now since I think my first head coaching job was 2007. So I've been a head coach for a little bit now. Worked or played under all those guys. So I've been very lucky to be around those guys when they were first starting out. A lot of those guys when they were first starting out in their career. Like my line coach, Coach Flood. He's 26. I'm an 18-year-old freshman. So it was nice, getting to work for all those guys and keep in touch with them and learn from them. So who we are, I kind of went into that already. We're based in the run and shoot. We kind of go along the lines of like the Jones, Davis, Rollo, Stutzman type run and shoot that was at Hawaii. I played in it as well. So I put, Coach Spence, Coach Matsakis, they all kind of put their own little touch on the run and shoot. So we got a little bit of flavor of that in there. We do have some West Coast and air raid type stuff because I had really dabbled in that when I was at Fort Meade, because I'm at Fort Meade and I have a very transient population. It was a military post school, so I had kids in and out constantly. And so it wasn't really conducive to the run and shoot. I had to be very flexible. I would get a quarterback, start developing him, and then his dad would get PCS'd or transferred out, and I'd have to start from ground zero. So the run and shoot was a little simpler and easier to put in with those kids because there wasn't as much reading on the run stuff. So we still carry a little bit of that over. And that's just some of our philosophy stuff. I've been at a 4A, which is the largest here. I've been at the big private schools in the DMV area, at Mount St. Joe, where we won a few championships, and now at a mid-sized public school. But we still go one way. We have multi-sport athletes. So I'll get into the actual what we're doing each day. So I'll kind of zip through this quick. I think this presentation is usually like 45 minutes, so I'm going to try to zip through it quick. And then if you have any questions at the end, you can email me, DM me, call me, or if you want this presentation, just email me and I'll send it to you. So we'll kind of zip through this quick. And then, if you want me to get more in depth on anything, just let me know. So this is our practice planning philosophy. We do, just like everyone typically does, we get our instruction done during the meetings. Once we get out there, we don't want to coach. We want to coach on the run, because we go no huddle tempo. We like to have player ownership. We try to, the coaches are there, but we try to get them to understand that early outs is part of their responsibility to make sure that it's done right and that they coach themselves up. The older kids are holding the younger kids accountable and so on. Pace, again, I covered that. We pick our spots with live. So we game plan some situations in practice where we're going to go live each week, like for 5 minutes. But then we have, a thud tempo, and then also we work against bags. And we try to rotate that out so that we keep our kids' legs fresh. We work. So we had been in the past few years, and we won a state championship doing it in 21, practicing both sides of the ball every day. At like 45 minutes an hour offense, same for defense, and then anywhere from a 5 to 15 minute, 20 minute special teams time. And we're making the transition back to playing one way this year. That's we had played both sides of the ball when I was at Parkdale High School just because we didn't have big numbers. Then I got to Meade, and we're a big 4A school. We went one way. I went to a private school in Mount St. Joe. We had tons of kids. We went one way. Came back down to Northern, and the coaches and the players have been so used to going and practicing both sides of the ball every day that we stuck with it. But we're going to make the switch back this year because I think we're at a point now with the program where we can play one way and wear people out just like we used to. We don't do anything on the weekends. We do a Zoom meeting in the morning to talk to the kids about the previous game. And we, one coach is responsible for screenshotting and checking to make sure everybody's there on that, participation list. I'm calling kids out and stuff like that, asking them questions. Their position coaches break off with them for about another 20 minutes. So I'll keep them for about 30, 40 minutes and watch selected plays. And then their position coaches will have them for 30 to 20 minutes after that. Our defensive staff meets with them. We're lucky we have what we call Patriot time. It's a 45-minute block in between third and fourth period at our school. And our defensive staff meets with them on Monday. Our defensive coordinator does. He meets with them on Monday to go over the film with them. So we try to keep the kids out of the school on the weekends. So this is kind of just what I was going over. We Zoom call the players on Saturday. We have our staff meetings. The defensive staff meets in person. They meet from 8 to about 11 a.m. in the morning on Sundays. And then the defensive coordinator usually calls me later that night once he's finalized everything after my offensive staff meeting and tells me what the game plan is. And we go through it just so I know what's going on being the head coach. And then offensively, we meet because so many of us have young kids. We actually meet as a staff on Zoom, and we have assignments that have to get done prior to that meeting. And then when we get there, we kind of put it all together and come up with the game plan, the initial opener script, and the down and distance calls. So Monday, we'll focus on openers, our opening script. We'll focus on our down and distance calls, so our short, medium, and long yardage calls. On Monday after practice, right before we all head to youth league practices. So youth league practices, we all, believe it or not, like my sons play for the local. We only have 2 youth leagues that feed into our school. We have the Dunkirk Warriors and Chesapeake Beach Buccaneers, who those are the two of the three towns that feed into our school. And all of our kids play for one of those two teams. And I actually go ahead and coach the 11U team. It'll be the 12U team next year. My wide receivers coach goes down and coaches another team. I have one of my O-line coaches on JV coaching down at the Buccaneers. So we spread out, and then we also assign every player on varsity is assigned to one of the age group teams for each organization. So each organization will have 5 to 6 players assigned to their particular team to go and almost act like graduate assistants for the coaches coaching those teams. It's something I picked up from a family friend, Anthony DiMatteo, up in New York, where I grew up in the Hudson Valley. He does it with his team up at Somers High School, and I was hearing about it, and I thought it was a great idea, so we implemented it, and it's been working out great. So Monday night, we'll go through and we'll review our openers, see if we like them, make changes if we need to. But then we're going to go over our going in stuff, because we'll practice our red zone and goal line on Tuesday. And then Wednesday is what my head coach in college called it, Coach Gardy called it fine tune it day. That's where we try to hit everything in the script. It's a big team day. And then Thursday is game simulation. So a typical practice for us is going to look like this. We're going to, our everyday drills, this is where I told you we're kind of a hybrid, because we got the settle drill or the noose drill, which is an air raid type drill. We have line catching, which if you watch AJ Smith, he's kind of talked about that a lot. But we do the line catching drill, and then we go into pat and go. And we run our pat and go more air raidy than run and shoot. It's the slant, then it's the half speed go, the 3/4 speed go, and then the full speed go. And this is what our running backs and O-line are doing on the side while the wide receivers and quarterbacks are getting ready. We always go into blitz drill next, even on Wednesdays. Blitz drill for us is not a full live balls to the wall type thing. It's more of like a 75% drill, where we're going to send the kitchen sink at the O-line, the quarterback and the running back in protection, and make them make their calls, redirect the protections if we have to, and hit this hot routes and things like that, and the alerts, so that we get practice on that every day. I feel like if you're a spread team, one of the things that teams will try to do to disrupt you is obviously they can drop everybody or they can blitz. And some teams will try to blitz you. And if you don't have an answer and you get blitzed and people start seeing it works, next thing you know, everybody's blitzing you, because it's the easy thing to do. Just lock up man, send the house, and hope they get home. But if you can make them pay, which is what I ingrain in our kids, is when we see cover 0, it's time to score. So that's kind of what we do during that period, is get that done. And I think it's so important. We do 5 to 10 minutes of that every single day. Then we'll go to our skills section, which is really it's individual for the line and the running backs. For our quarterbacks and receivers, it's group drills. So we're going to work our seam read drill, our go drill, our streak drill, our switch drill, depending on the day, what it is. And I'll get into that in a minute. Then we'll always work on our bubble screen blocking, our 3 versus 2 drill. Which was a Hal Mummy staple, which I got from him listening to him at a clinic a while ago. We always do screen drill, whether it's half line or full line in the middle. That's something that we did in college at Hofstra University back in the day, and we were a very good screen team, so I kept that. And we usually block pop-up dummies. You can block trash cans. I've seen people do it with exercise balls, where they roll the exercise balls. That's great too. We usually force the backups to go grab the pop-up dummies and put them out there so that they have to run through. One-on-one pass pro, then obviously we go into team. So this is what I send out to the parents. So each week, the parents will get this schedule. So they'll get it in a Microsoft Excel form with tabs on each day, and there'll be a separate file for JV and varsity, and each group will get this email on usually Sunday morning. I'll send this out so the parents have the agenda for the entire week before. So you can see here, this is a Monday for us. And so I'll double back into the practice schedule in a minute. This is Tuesday. We do mindset training every once in a while. I think that's been big for us. For those of you who are not big into wrestling, I am, just because of my sons and because I did and stuff like that. But and I'm an assistant coach with the varsity wrestling team in the off season. But we use wrestling mindset. And Coach Kruger from out in Iowa talks to our team on Zoom like 6 times a year. And we try to time it up with the beginning of the season, started training camp, beginning of the season, mid-season, started the playoffs. And then, if we're making a deep run like we did last year, he talked to us right before the state semifinals. We didn't win the game, but, I think it helps. So we do that. And this is obviously a Wednesday practice. And then this is a Thursday practice. We have a team dinner. And we actually paint the field. It's kind of a cool thing to do. We have natural grass. We have Bermuda grass. We don't have turf. So our kids, it's been a tradition at Northern for a while, and I didn't really want to keep it because I felt like, well, this is just more time at the school. I want the kids to get home and get off their feet, but they love it. And so we actually go out on the field, paint the field ourselves. And the seniors go out and paint our logo on the middle of the field. So they have a good time with it. So we've kept it. It's been a real fun thing. It's been a good bonding thing for the kids. So that's our drive script. So game planning. I'll double back on practice planning if anyone wants to see it. But we're kind of transitioning a little bit. So, if anyone does want to see it, just let me know and I'll double back if we have time. So creating a game plan, this is kind of how we do it. We pick, so this first step we do is we pick our film very carefully. I'm not a big watching a whole ton of film and coming up with all kinds of analytics and breakdowns because what we do is so unique with the run and shoot in the area. There's spread teams in our area that go 4 and 5 wide, but they're spreading out to run or they're running some pretty standard concepts. There's not many teams running the go route, the choice, things like that. So we don't put a whole big ton of stock in how other teams we're playing other teams. We will go back and use our book more so than anything. Our book is how teams have played us in the past. As long as the coach stays consistent, we'll go back and we create a book on each team, like how have they played us the last 3 years in 3x1? How have they played us in 2x2? How have they played us in empty? And we'll go back and see what the tendencies are, if there's anything they've done differently. 1 year we may have really torched them. Next year they make an adjustment and it kind of messed with us a little bit. So what is that adjustment? Do we need to be ready for it? So we'll kind of look at that more than the opponent films, but we will pick two to three relevant games and we'll watch only the competitive times. Really what I'm going to do is I'm only going to watch the first half. And I usually just watch it through. I don't pull like red zones, third downs, things like that. I'll watch it through just to get a good idea of what's going on, and look at the overall flow of the game. Who can we pick on? What's the defensive coordinator's tendencies? When does he change? Like when we get inside the 20, when we get inside the 15, when is it? And I'll focus how they align to similar formations and see if what they're doing on film matches up with our book. If it doesn't match up with our book, then I know it probably will not match up when we play them on the field. So that's kind of what we do first. Second, once we do get everything in line, we kind of start going from off of our book primarily, but then obviously from if the games that we pick to line up, we're going to look at probably what everybody else does. We're going to look at similar stats, motions, and shifts. How do they defend extra gaps and unbalance? That's where I said we're kind of a run and shoot hybrid in that, not only will we throw, wide shallow, we'll come out and run unbalanced power, if we have a good tight end. Or if we don't have a good tight end, we'll pull one of our receivers in who's a bigger receiver, line him up as the weak side tackle, go tackles over the other way and run at the unbalanced, and run off tackle power at the unbalanced. That way, to create a tight end type look. We'll try to get personnel mismatches. That was one of the things I picked up more so. I really got into that in 2018, 2019 when Greg Roman's son played for us at Mount St. Joe. And, we had a really good receiver who's at Tennessee right now. We had a good, and this is obviously, for those you don't know, in private school in the Baltimore, Maryland area in DC, it's like running a small college. It's kind of wild. Like you're out at youth football fields till 10 o'clock at night being like, come play for us. And some of you have scholarships, some don't, we didn't. So I was trying to figure out how do we get mismatches? How do we get our kid that went to Tennessee matched up on a safety or on a linebacker and stuff like that. So he kind of got into that with me and I learned a little bit from him about how to create some mismatches because that's a pretty big thing in the NFL. Then we just want to know what are their top 3 coverages from each set and their top 3 stunts and pressures. And again, we're basing this more off the book than we are the film, but obviously if the film aligns generally with what we have in the book, then we're gonna take that into account. This is an example of a scouting report we give our kids. We were playing a team from down south, further south than us in Maryland, called Leonardtown High School. They're a tough team. They run the wing tee, and they run a power version of the wing tee, and they're very good at it. They're good at grinding the clock down. So there was a tough matchup for us. But then this will be the cover sheet. We'll go into personnel. I don't get too deep into personnel. We do list who we think we can attack. We have a little notation that we make, and I took it off here just because, these are other, that's just for us between the team and stuff like that. But we have a little notation on which kid we want to attack in the secondary and on the defensive line, or maybe it's not a defensive line, but maybe it's a linebacker in the run game. So that way they know that. And then we give them screenshots, because I feel like kids learn better from pictures than they do from you drawing it, or from you explaining it to them. They actually do a better job where they can pull it back up and reference it. So we put this on there and we screenshot it. And I try to give them, little coaching cues on what they're looking at. We try to get, a wide and a tight of each shot to try to help them out. So this is an example. We try to go through all of our main formations. I'll draw up their basic coverage out of 2x2 and 3x1. And I'll try to break it down very simply for them about how they do it. I'll draw up a few of their favorite pressures or their favorite stunts just to give the offensive line a clue. And really what I do this for too is our scout team, our coach that runs the scout team. He takes these and draws these up into scout cards for us off of what I put on here, really. So then once we get a good feel for what we think we need to be prepared for, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to game plan very similar to how, if you've ever listened to anybody in the air raid talk, how the air raid game plans, because I think it's very simple, it's very streamlined, it's very straightforward. And to be honest with you, it aligns with how the run and shoot does it as well. It's just, I feel like it's even more straightforward and simple than the run and shoot way of kind of working the game plan. So we think of it as a car. So we're going to conceptualize to the parts. We plan the field. So we try to have an overall philosophy of how we need to attack this particular team to be successful. And then we want to go back in and dive in and figure out, okay, what do we need in that opening script to get us information we need based on formations and motions, or like what concepts do we run that we feel can be very good for us, and do we need to formation them or change them up? So this is kind of how we do it. We break it down into the coming off, the yellow, the open field. We actually call it, I know some people call it a high red zone and a low red zone. We just call it orange and red, green zone, and then goal line. So for the coming off play, okay, we like 2 running back sets or tight end sets, two running back sets or tight end sets. We like to be aggressive. We always take a shot. I try to keep it now more to 3 plays than 4 plays, but I put 3 to 4 plays on there. Basically, our philosophy is we want to take a shot and get all 99 yards, or we want to get the ball out of the 5-yard line, one of the two. So that's kind of what we're doing there. Yellow zone, we want to get the ball out quick. Oh, and then what I should say is the coming off does not change. Those plays are the plays. We don't even change formations and motions there. Once we run what we run in that zone, and it doesn't change from the day we put it in training camp to the day we wrap it up for the year. Yellow zone, we're trying to get the ball out quick. We're going to use quick screens, catch and throw, quick game, shallow crosses, sprint outs, runs. I like the sprint out just to change the launch point in case the team's pressure. But we're trying to get the ball moved down to the open field so we can get on our opening script. We're somewhere between 3 and 5 plays. I've more than likely have been focused. I've been kind of more on the realm of 4 plays, but we've been as little as 3 and as much as 5. For the most part, these plays do not change either. They stay the same. All right, our 20 to 20, our freewheeling zone. These are our openers. We're going to scare. It says 12 to 20. I've actually backtracked the last 3 years. When we played in the state championship game, our script was 20. It was actually 22 plays. But recently, the last few years, we've kind of scaled back to, we were 20 and 22. And then this past year, we were somewhere between 12 and 15 every game. We like a good mix of our quicks, our dropbacks, our screens, our movement passes. Like, your boots, your nakeds, and your sprint outs, and then our vertical game like streak and switch and divide, and then our runs. We try to use a different set in motion and shift every play possible so we can gather some information on how the defense is trying to play us. And then it just goes back to we want to throw the ball to people who can score. Okay, so last year we had probably the best receiver in the state. He had 1,950 yards receiving. He's a junior. So within the first 3 plays of the game, it didn't matter who we were playing, we were going to figure out a way to take a shot on the kid because he was a hell of a deep ball runner, so we tried to figure out, within those first 3 plays, we were taking a shot on that kid. Didn't matter. So orange zone, this is what some people refer to as a high red zone. This is where it's not 20 to 11. That's a typo. It should be 20 to 15. We're in scoring position. The big thing for us here, and I tell the kids, is everything is starting to shrink. So we need to score now if we can. So in here, we're going to carry 4 or 5 plays, and 1 or 2 of those plays are going to be shots or special type plays that are going to get all the yardage we need all at once. So that we can avoid getting into those constricted areas, the red zone goal line areas, if we can. Red zone, that's wrong. That's wrong. Sorry about this. That's a typo. Again, this is down to the 10, so it's that 15 to 10 yard line. Again, this is where, in our league at least, the reason why we differentiated this is we started to see a shift. We found that out of the 9 games, regular season games we played in 21 in our league, that 7 of the defensive coordinators made an adjustment when we hit the 15-yard line. That seemed to be the mark for most of them. So when we get in the red zone, things changed. We started coming up with a different script. So we had man beaters, plays in space, quarterback runs, things like that. So we usually carry about 2 or 3 plays in this zone. Just backtracking, orange zone and red zone will change to a certain degree, but it stays the same very much. We like throwing our go route here. We love our double under corner route. So the 2 outside guys and 3-by-1 will run 5 and ends, and the number 3 guy will run a corner. We love our choice game when we can get them in man coverage to the single receiver, things like that. Those are the old Y corner play from air raid. We have that in our offense. We love that down here. So those are the types of things we're trying to throw in this area to get us into scoring position. Our green zone is that 9-yard line to about 5. Okay, so again, it's a typo. I apologize for that. But basically, when we get in this area, we want things that are going to get us 2 to 3 yards to move us into the goal line. Because at this point, the field is constricted, and we're going to use our best stuff. We'll get creative and use some unconventional sets, usually about 2 to 3 plays. And then goal line, this is when we must score, when we get inside the 5. And we use special sets. This is where you're going to see us come out. Like last year, we ran a set called Big Boys, where we pulled every single person off the field except our starting running back, who's a senior. We pulled them all off the field. We put the starting senior in a wildcat position. We had all kinds of tight ends and extra offensive linemen in there. We went old school, double tight, double wing, shoe-to-shoe splits. And we went, basically all year, all we did was run the old wing T version, 82-88 down in either direction, just with motions and shifts or unbalanced. So our 3-day install, we try to limit it to 2 run plays, 2 run concepts, 2 quick pass concepts, one version of our vertical game, whether it's streak, switch, or divide, and then 1 movement pass, 1 play action, 2 screens down the field, 2 screens, and then 2 drop back concepts. It seems like a lot, but we are usually able to get it done. Basically what we do with the 4th day is it's basically a review. So we'll go day 1 install, day 2 install, day 3 install, and then during training camp we'll review the whole thing. We'll take our best plays, because every coach has on the field keeps a yellow, a green highlighter, and then a pen, and they cross out what they think stinks. They highlight in green what they think is good, and they highlight in yellow if they think it's okay. And then we'll go back and throw all of our green stuff into the practice plan for day 4. But when we're in season, that's when we work open field and third down, open field going in, our coming off and review, and then we run the game plan on Thursdays. This is kind of what a call sheet looks like for me. There's our openers on the left with our down and distance stuff on the right. is our orange, red zone, green zone stuff are coming off in yellow. And I just fold that in half, just like you see the air raid guys. So I walk around with that little thing, fold it in half like origami. But it usually never comes out of my pocket until after the drive's over. I usually have somebody telling me up in the booth, down distance, field position, and then what the next play should be according to the script. And I either go with it or we kind of veer off on a tangent. And then on the back, I just list all of our concepts that we have in general. And again, this is kind of how we our game night agenda. This is our scouting report again. I don't know why I put that on there. We use this a lot in our quarterback training program with the run and shoot. I stole these from AJ Smith. So we use these and force the quarterbacks during our quarterback school. Every time we put in a new concept, they have to draw up the concept, like a streak over here on the left. And they have to draw a streak up against 3, against man free, against 2 deep zone, against 2 deep man, 4 deep zone, and cover 0. And then the key to our offense is kind of getting towards the end. The key to our offense is just reps. It's having a capacity for boredom. I know, when I played for Coach Flood, he said, the offensive line, we're like dogs. We piss on the same tree every day. And that's kind of that's kind of the philosophy we take in offense every day. We'll come up with, you'll see us run some wacky stuff. Like we'll come up with, something cool that we haven't done before. And it's basically just because we like it. It's not necessarily specifically designed for that defense. It's more like, we've got a shift in emotion we think will work real well this week. So we're going to put it in, just because I feel like it's something that takes advantage of like one of our kids' strengths. So we'll do that, but for the most part, our game plan stays pretty similar from week to week, except for that open field script. That's where things will change every week and change quite drastically. So I know I kind of zoomed through this, but I don't know if there's any questions.
I don't have any in the chat currently.
Okay, cool.
But kind of. I'll ask 2 real quick and if somebody's got a question, throw it in chat because we got plenty of people in here right now.
Okay, cool.
Like, how do I want to word this? Because you hit a lot in, like I said, a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like, really, one of my main questions is how is this really, as you've meshed other things, how has stuff kind of evolved, practice wise? Have your practices gotten shorter, longer? What direction have you kind of gone in as you've kind of gone?
Yeah, I think, so initially when I first became a head coach, we were like 3 hours on the field. We were a 4A school, we had 2,500 kids, but the school had never had it. I don't want to say ever. And it hadn't had success in about 10, 15 years. It was a long time. And when I showed up, there was 21 total players out for football. I don't mean shaving varsity. I mean the whole shebang. We had 21 kids signed up for football, and we didn't have footballs. So a lot of the kids I got had never played football before. No youth league experience, no middle school, no nothing. So we were out there coaching these kids and playing against some of the better schools in the state, trying to win football games against some of the kids that had no experience whatsoever. We're pulling kids off the basketball team, baseball, wherever we could find them. So we spent a lot of time in individual work, and as a result, the practices were kind of long. Once I went to Meade, we had kids that knew what they were doing and had played before, but the challenge was, like I said, you're on a military installation, and you have kids, transferring in and out. It wasn't as bad as some of the other bases because Meade is kind of an end stage base. There was a lot of people that were further along in their career. Maybe this is their last stop before they retire and things like that. So we had it a little bit better than other bases from what I'm told, but we still had kids coming in and out. Like, my quarterback, came in. One of the quarterbacks I had showed up first day of practice as a junior. I didn't even know who he was. He walked on the field, said they just came from Fort Bragg and they were here. And, so we had to create a system that was easier for them. And we had so many kids, I felt like we could go one way. So practices were a little bit shorter. Then we went to St. Joe and we kind of kept that rolling. We stayed one way because, obviously you're recruiting your kids. It's a little bit easier. We didn't have scholarships, so we're going against some of the other private schools who were basically, I'd go recruit a kid and then one of the private schools around us would show up and be like, how much is St. Joe giving you? Oh, we have to pay $12,000 to go there. Okay, well, only have to pay $1,000 if you come to us. We didn't have that type of money. So, we lose those battles, but we had a ton of kids because it had a big legacy. The school had been around for a while. So we got a lot of kids whose dads, uncles, grandfathers had all went to that school. And they may not have been the best football players, but they were try-hard kids. They were tough. And they worked real hard. They had a great work ethic. And I felt like if we're not going to be the best on the field at each position, and we did have talent, like I talked about that one receiver, but when we were playing the McDonough school, their entire front four, all 4 defensive linemen signed Power 5. I think on our 5 offensive linemen that were trying to block them in the championship game, we had 3 kids go play Division III football. And 2 kids one was a long stick lacrosse player and the other was a wrestler. So we had kids that were not 6'5", 260 going to Penn State like they did. So we kind of figured if we're going to, a lot of those teams were playing both ways. So one way we can neutralize the playing field was if we kept our kids fresh, kept practices short, quick, and efficient, and then let them play one way, and we could wear them down in the fourth quarter. And that kind of I wanted to bring that same philosophy to Northern because Northern we showed the first, after COVID ended, that 2021 season when we stepped on the field, I had 65, 70 kids trying out for varsity. I had 90 kids trying out for JV. So I wanted to go that way, but the coaches that were in place, I had 3 coaches come with me from St. Joe because it's about an hour and a half south of St. Joe, the school that I was at. That's where I was living. I was making that round trip commute every day, which was killer. But I didn't have enough buy-in basically with the staff that I retained. They didn't think it could work. We're not private school. This is not going to work for us. So I didn't fight that until this past off season. We played a team. Ironically, the team we beat in the state championship game, we played them in the state semifinals, and it was very clear that they wore us down because they played one way, and our coaches saw it finally. And I was like, finally got that buy-in. So we're back to this year, shorter practices, playing one way. If there's a kid that has to play both ways, we'll figure it out. We'll talk I'm the offensive coordinator, I'll talk between me and the defensive coordinator, and we'll figure it out. But that's kind of the philosophy I have. That's how it's evolved throughout the years. And I think it's important because the run and shoot, those receivers are running so much, you want to save their legs. You don't want them dead legs going into week 10.
Okay. Now I got 2 questions that popped in the chat so far.
Sure.
One is from a friend of mine. Do you use sugar tempo and no huddle tempo, or go back and forth? And do you pair that with? Do you pair that to get the defense to show their coverage hand?
That's an outstanding question, and here's what I've learned through watching other coaches in the state. So first off, to give you the short answer, we go no huddle, and we will use the look tempo like everybody does. We'll get up to the line of scrimmage, we'll go sit up, and then look to the sideline. And then we'll actually double freeze it. So we'll come up, we'll go sit up, we'll look at the sideline, then really quick sit up, and then we'll go the next time. And then we have what we have the typical one-word stuff where I don't even have cards on the sideline. Like some people hold up the giant cards. Everybody just screams, satellite, satellite, satellite. And the kids know, get on the ball, and we're snapping it on the clap. So our tempo, when we're running our normal fast tempo, I tell the kids, we're going to come up to the line of scrimmage, we're going to say, 100, 100, say go. And then we snap it. We could call freeze, and freeze it, and fake the snap, look for the sideline, get the play to see if, like you said, they undress it. We also have a double freeze, but then we have our one-word stuff where I told the kids, if we're going, it's kind of like an homage to my favorite movie, Spaceballs. It's like we go ludicrous speed. It's like, yeah. So we're going up the line. Everyone knows when we call satellite, this is the formation, this is the play. It does not change. Get on the ball, and as soon as the quarterback sees everybody set for a second, he just claps his hands and we go. That's kind of how we change it up, and then we will slow things down. One thing I saw as a young coach, before I was a head coach, I was a defensive coordinator for another high school, and I saw a coach who I'm personally have a lot of respect for, and I'm very friendly with him. He was in the state championship game. He's a tempo guy. And they were up 21-0 going into the fourth quarter, and they lost 28-21 because they just kept going fast. And the other team caught on, or the quarterback just was not sharp in the fourth quarter, and they just kept going fast, kept throwing. The clock was running. It was like, and they got hot, and it was just like touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. And like, I'm thinking, run the ball and snap it when the official starts chopping his hand, but so that's one of the things I took away as a learning experience from myself watching that game was like, you can beat tempo, but you need to be smart. And we need to know, not smart, maybe just situationally aware and know when to slow it down.
Okay. And then and I have another coach in here who's coaches a freshman team. I mean, kind of where do you start running shoot wise with younger, like middle school or freshman type kids?
That's a good question. Seam read. Everything starts off the seam read. You can't do anything with those kids if they don't know how to run a seam read, whether they're an outside receiver or an inside receiver. So one of the first things we do is we go out on the field, we put them in 2x2, and we put we'll put either pop-up dummies or coaches standing as what we call the under coverage, or I know in college we call it the alley player. Some people call it the outside linebacker, whoever that technically flat defender is that covers down over number 2. We'll have someone or a pop-up dummy there, and they have to clear that. They have to clear the under coverage. If you ever watch any of the run and shoot guys, Coach Davis and Coach Jones are constantly talking about clearing the under coverage. So we're gonna put that there for them to clear the under coverage, and then we're gonna put coaches 12 yards deep on the hash, and they are going to give them that look. They're going to backpedal on the hash. They're going to come down like a quarters guy. They're going to work out to the numbers like a cover 2 safety. They're going to work to the middle of the field like a cover 3 safety. We're going to give them those looks, and we're going to spend a lot of time during 7-on-7, during training camp and things like that, of those receivers, whether they're the outside receivers or the inside receivers, getting up the field, clearing the under coverage, looking at the hips. And as soon as they see that hip, give them a key, or that foot, give them a key. Then they're going to snap their route and break it. And we take everything for us builds off that seam read from there.
Okay. Now, I mean, I'll ask you this again, it's not necessarily a run and shoot concept, but its roots are run and shoot. And Art Briles kind of made it famous, the deep choice stuff. Have you messed with any of that at all, or?
I know it. Like I was curious about it. So I don't think you're a good coach if you see something that someone's doing that's working and you're like, can that incorporate into our system? Because they obviously are doing something right, and I don't know what that is. So, being at St. Joe, we had so many college recruiters come through. I would trap them, whether it was Coach Babers at Syracuse or, there was I remember Coach Trahan, who was up at Ithaca, played quarterback in the system. But anytime I got a Briles guy from about year 2015 to 2016, I trapped him. It was like, can you tell me? And they were all like, no, we can't tell you. I was like, all right, well, if I draw something on the board, can you at least nod yes or no? And there were times where those guys would be like, I remember, Coach Babers was sitting in there, and I go, Coach, can you just tell me if this is right? And I drew it up, and he goes, here's what I'll do for you, Rich. He goes, if I leave the room right now, you're on it. And I go like this. I go, okay. And then he gets up and walks out the door, So it was kind of cool. I learned it indirectly. It's kind of weird. Our 4 vertical game, the streak, switch, and divide, has kind of evolved. We run it like a run and shoot team still. However, our read we're almost in like a triangle read, like a West Coast team. So, we're going to, for example, if we go for what we call streak is what everybody else considers 4 verticals. So our front side, whoever we tag on the seam read is run the seam read. The other side of the field is basically locked vertical. So we're going to have a lock seam, meaning can't stop, and a vertical in the numbers, can't stop. So on the backside, we'll have our seam read, and then our guy running up the numbers, reading the corner. And what we'll do is if we have a 1-high shell, we will stare down that lock seam. And and try to drive that safety with our eyes and our run and shoot, half roll drop into the B gap towards that lock seam. If he does not move out of the middle of the field, we will drill that lock seam. If he does, then we're going to go backside and we're just going to read it 1 to 2 to 3, like an equilateral triangle, looking seam read, go read on the numbers down to the back and the flat. And that's kind of how we do it. That's not necessarily how I know Coach Jones and Coach Davis teach the 4 verticals per se all the time, but it's close, but it's a little different. And I just found our kids grasp it better. They understand. I don't know why, they just understand the triangle thing, like the West Coast triangle thing. And they're like, oh yeah, just read my triangle, 1, 2, 3, so that's kind of what we've gone to. We tried the deep choice one year at St. Joe and it looked, I don't know, probably because I'm trying to decipher it from things like that. And I didn't teach it as well, or didn't spend enough time really buying into it. So I figured if I'm not really bought into it, I'm not going to do it. We're just going to stick with what we really believe in.
Okay. Well, coaches, sit there for a second. It just, coaches, like, share, subscribe, all that lovely jazz. You can go back to this VOD will be on there. So if you want to go back and watch this, and they'll get cut up over the next couple of days in each individual clinic, putting playlists and all that jazz. Thanks for everybody for watching. I think we're good, Coach.